And we are live. Hello to anyone who is already here. Give it a few seconds to let people roll on in. But welcome to some cheap travel knowledge on this Friday night. What is it, April 26th? April 26th. Okay, so today's topic is going to be, the main topic will be, should you be loyal to any airline, hotel, or points program? I have noticed that it seems like a decent amount of people who like one specific of these things. I'm someone myself who, for anyone who watches this channel, probably knows that I am a big fan of the Hyatt program. However, anyone who's been following some of the news within the points miles game, you may have noticed, or just the hotel games, you may have noticed that Hyatt got their Mr. and Mrs. Smith that I was kind of excited about because when I first heard that Hyatt was losing its I first heard that Hyatt was losing the what is it called? Small luxury hotels of the world. I was thinking to myself, like, okay, well, they're gonna have to do something to make up for it. It's not that all the small luxury hotels of the world gave you the best price point, because if you looked at a lot of them, many of the times you'd end up looking at it and noticing that there might be a property that would cost $300 or still ask for 20,000 ish points. Um, but But then what ended up happening was they got rid of that. But then there's still also some really good properties. There's one out in Greece that did really well. There's one out in where was there's one in Rome. There was Palazzo Manfredi's. There's a few different ones that are out there. But then as they got rid of that, Hilton took it over. Hey, what's going on over here, Jacob? How you doing? Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here on Friday night. Just going to go over a few different things going on in the Points and Miles game. Hopefully you enjoy this video. But yeah, so then they switched over. Now they have the Mr. and Mrs. Smith program, and you can read from what Frequent Miler, or you can do a little bit of research yourself. Go on their website, check it out, and what you'll probably end up noticing is that the points redemptions with Mr. and Mrs. Smith is not good. I almost wish more that they would have just kept many of the hotels as not being bookable with points, and then just left it being the ones that you could get yourself closer to what Hyatt's value was. Then that would be the options. Listen, I understand that these places are businesses, so I'm not someone who looks at it and goes, "Hey, we should get ourselves, 10 cents per point every single time we redeem for hotels, redeem for airlines, redeem for any of these different things." That's not the way I think about it. I understand that these are businesses and they have to make money and they have to do something that works out well for them, but it has to be reciprocal to where we can see it as well and see the value is on our side. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if you see these properties, not 100% of them, but I'll say that a much higher percentage of them that I've noticed just from a little bit of research, it's not worth it to even use your points. It would just make more sense to book outright. It would make more sense to, or just not even go to those properties at all. Depends on how much you want to go to them. I'm just gonna turn on this fan over here. It's a little bit warm, and I apologize about the audio. I was trying to get the audio going correct before, but for some reason, it seems like it's just going through the computer only, and I couldn't get the other microphone to connect. But yeah, that's unfortunate, because the thing about the Hyatt program is that it is one where they don't have many properties, so they have to win out in other places. Because when you start to look at, like, I'm someone who likes to stay at Hyatt and I try to stay at Hyatt hotels, but when you start to look at trying to stay at Hyatt hotels, and there end up being instances where you go, okay, now do I want to go out of my way to stay at this property? That will end up being like a big part of it, where you go, I want to get the good value of Hyatt, but there's only one Hyatt hotel in this whole entire city, and it's all the way over here. Hey, what's going on, Keith S? Thank you for telling me my audio sounds decent. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to get it from, there's like a little microphone I have over here, but I can't get it to link up with it the same way. So when you end up seeing something like that, you go, okay, well, if it's so limited, then out of these limited places, for me to end up getting value out of it, or for me to end up wanting to stay from it, I want to get myself good value. And this doesn't even have to even do with transferring over the points from chase like many of us do. This has to do with just thinking about earning points with the program. So if you were to have the World of Hyatt card and you also had the Hilton Surpass card, similar cards, you want to be able to use both of those cards at the properties, use both of those cards how they imagine, for day-to-day use. I know that most of us aren't going to do it that way. And then after you're done doing that, earn enough points to where you can redeem it and get yourself good value for the points, or get yourself good stays for the points. Now, Hilton does a really good job with giving you, when it comes to spending at Hilton properties, very good value for their points. In fact, depending on, I guess if you have diamond status versus unless you have like global status, you're going to earn a better rate when it comes to, I mean, obviously it's a higher multiplier, but if you factor in the values of the points, if you have like the Hilton Aspire card, you're going to end up getting yourself a better rate of return with the Hilton Aspire card, staying at Hilton properties, versus if you just have the Hyatt card and you don't have global status. If you have global status, I think that the percentage is very, very close. But since you end up getting diamond status automatically from having the Aspire card, then you automatically get those additional points from having the Aspire card. So we got Keith S saying, I'm globalist and diamond status. I drove past the Hilton yesterday, right up to the Hyatt. It's such a better program. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a globalist myself as well, Keith. And I really do enjoy it. But for me, what ends up coming down to is I'm looking at it going, okay, I want for these, the only thing that I'm really looking at with Hyatt that's like more annoying to me is sometimes it can end up being a limited amount of properties. That's really what it is. It's the footprint that I'm noticing I'm having some troubles with. I've done a few different trips this year, and I stayed at the Hilton, the Conrad in Osaka, and I got to tell you, I loved that. That was a great stay. That was a great stay. I think the Hyatt just opened up a property over there, but at the time there wasn't even an option to stay at a Hyatt in Osaka. Just no hotel option. I could have stayed at a Ritz-Carlton out in Osaka. I could have stayed at the Conrad out in Osaka, but at the time there wasn't even a Hyatt available. So that's where it ends up starting to become a problem, to where you start to have a more limited the footprint. So with that, I hope Hyatt can acquire other properties to make it so that's better for people who are fans of Hyatt. So when they get something like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and then they end up making the value so low when it comes to points, I guess for spend there, then it can make sense just to rack up the points. But when it comes to redeeming, it doesn't make sense. It just seems like a bad deal for anyone who would be looking at doing that. So we got Wong Way Travels in the house here. He's talking to Key saying you are a diamond due to the Aspire. Well, I think most people are. You can become a diamond the other way, but it's just going to take so much longer. I know our brother became a diamond, but he literally had to stay at the hotel for like months and months. So he just automatically became it. Yeah. One Way also says, stay at the Park Hyatt Kyoto. Hoping to get treated nice as a globalist. Oh, you say you're staying, so you haven't done it yet. Yeah, I did it. So few things to know about that. Technically, it's a resort, so some of you're not, I guess, entitled to late checkout, but I was pretty stern about wanting it because it was going to really affect my day travel for the following day, or for the day I was leaving. So because of that, just bring it up. Hey, can I get late checkout? They might say, oh, you're not entitled to it, and be like, oh, as a globalist, I thought they're probably going to tell you, but just see how much you can try to speak to them about it, because if that is important to you, then that's something good. But the Park Hyatt Kyoto is a nice property. Hopefully, you can get a view out the front at the I forget what the shrine's called, but that nice, beautiful shrine out there in the front. I loved it there. If you're okay with spending some dough, there's a really nice restaurant at the top. There's also like a nice bar up there. I did get the Michelin star breakfast, and I wasn't that much of a fan of it. You do have to pay a little bit of additional money to get the Michelin star breakfast, and I don't know, maybe I'm just not seasoned enough, but yeah, when I got that breakfast, I was like, it is what it is. So Keith S says, just diamond through spend on the Hilton Biz card. Okay, so Keith S is the big spender over here. I do want to go to a few people said some things earlier. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the gentleman's name. I have to look it up real quick because he left me a message. So I want to make sure I get his name correct. Leo. So I was asking about, should you be loyal to any of these programs? And Leo says, I wasn't even loyal to my wife. Okay, Leo. um, he says, "Do you think I'll ever be?" Sorry, and then he asked the question: Do you ever see Amex issuing a premium World of Hyatt card? Chase is not cutting it with its Hyatt card. The reason I ask is because I'm getting a bunch of Amex, another part of it, offers on Hyatt stays. Anyways, happy Friday. Cheers. Thank you, Leo. Yeah, so I don't because so there may end up being MX offers that are going through that are connected with Hyatt, but the I don't even think they even have the ability to even get a World of Hyatt card because of the contracts that they have with people um, or with these different companies. So I imagine that Chase has a full-on locked-in contract with Hyatt, and pretty much no other other like bank issuer is going to be allowed. The way that Built Rewards was able to get around all this was that Built Rewards was a loyalty program that says, hey, you know what? We're going to add in a credit card, but you can still earn the Built Reward points, not even have a Built Reward credit card. And that's how they were able to get around it. Versus the other ones probably have some exclusive um, deal with the banks saying, hey, you can't go be partnered with American Express. You can't go be partnered with Wells Fargo. You can't be partnered with any of these different programs. So that's how I believe Bill was able to get themselves like American Airlines. Bill was able to get themselves Hyatt, United, because they just came out saying we're a loyalty program that's going to be able to earn points through dining. It's going to be able to earn points through shopping portals. It's going to be able to earn points through all these different things. We're going to have these different contests that you can do and fill out this type of stuff. And then from that, they were able to um, uh, then add in the credit card and whatever type of deal that they had. They might have been like, hey, we're not even a bank. And then Wells Fargo, I don't know if they fully bought them or if it was just high investment into them. Um, and then from that, now it looks like Built was just, getting all these, they just did something that other banks couldn't do. But what it is they did like a workaround, is how they went about it. So very smart by Built Rewards to be able to catch all our attention by doing that. But when it comes to the Amex offers, Amex is just trying to do that to try to get high spenders to use their cards at nicer properties. So Hyatts tend to be nicer properties. So that's how they're able to have that connection there. We did have Anthony Venture earlier saying, let's go, JP. Excited for this topic. Thank you, Anthony, for writing in. And then also Leo brought in asking the question about Anthony, saying, when will Anthony join the Big Boys Club by upgrading his student Amex Delta Gold card for the exclusive Amex Delta Reserve card? So what I think about for that is that it's going to come down to Anthony needing to fly a lot on Delta and getting himself status with Delta, because the Delta Reserve card, in my opinion, I don't see other than like it has a nice welcome offer, but in my opinion, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to get the Delta Reserve card for? I would want to be flying a lot on Delta and specifically going for Delta status. So if you're someone who flies, like I know some people who fly from LA to Vegas all the time. They like working out there. They're flying out there multiple times like a week. If you had something like that, and then you could get yourself the Delta card and then be able to rack up a ton of spend on Delta. You're looking for status, be able to get upgrades with Delta because you fly with them so often, or if you happen to be someone who flies from New York to LA, something like this where you're constantly flying on them, it can make sense. But if we're just talking about having the Delta Reserve card just to have it, I don't fully see what would be the benefit of having the Delta Reserve card. It's quite expensive. Yes, you get yourself access into Delta Sky Club lounges, but you also got to do it with the American Express Platinum. And I'm pretty sure Anthony Venture has that card. So um, if Anthony starts flying a lot on Delta, which I don't know if he does, but I don't believe he does, just from some of the number of his videos that I've watched, then it may make sense. But until that time, I think that it may not make sense for him to keep it long term. We have Xavier in the house. What's going on? Welcome, welcome. M2K, hello. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome, everybody. All righty. So, the question now, let me see if I can switch over this real quick. Ends up being coming to going. Hold on. Sorry, people. Be better at this, but it takes a second. But the question ends up being coming down to loyalty with the different programs. So when should you start being loyal to different programs? Should you start being loyal to? I was trying to share this, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Um, should you start being loyal to hotels? Should you start being loyal to airlines? And should you start being loyal to points program, like certain points programs? Because I noticed that there's a lot of people who are like, I want myself Chase Ultimate Reward points. That's all I really need. That's the things that I want to use because I want to fly with, I guess, United. I don't know. United is like a connected partner with them, or I would just specifically want to stay at Hyatt's. Um, some people are just like, I want the Amex points. Chase is annoying. They have this stupid rule, the 524, all these other different things. I don't want to get myself City. I don't care about. And so when it comes to points, I'm like, just get all different types of points. I don't think that people even realize like how valuable it can be to have just other point currencies that you're not even fully thinking about the value you can get from them at the time. Because at the moment you're thinking to yourself, hey, I like having my chase points, so I'm just going to keep on getting chase points and just racking up as much of those as I can. But then if you split it off and you start getting yourself some membership reward points, like one of the big things is going to end up being transfer bonuses. This is something I was talking about with someone earlier. Is that transfer bonuses can end up being massive. Like you look at the 30% transfer bonus to Virgin Atlantic that's currently going on. I used up hundreds of thousands of Virgin Atlantic miles last year from transfer bonuses, which made it so that like one of my flights was essentially free because of how many additional points I got back from the transfer bonus or added on because of the transfer bonus. So like in the way that you're going to be able to take advantage of all these different transfer bonuses is from having all different currencies. So if you have Chase Ultimate Reward points and American Express membership reward points, like this is something that happened to me last year to where I was thinking about speculatively transferring over to Virgin, and then I paused, didn't decide not to do it. And then I saw a deal that I wanted to do with Virgin Atlantic, and the transfer bonus was done with American Express. So even though I would prefer to use my Chase points more for Hyatt stays, I wasn't going to do it for 30% less. So I decided to transfer over my Chase Ultimate Reward points, get this deal for a 30% additional bonus for my points. So this is the reason why we got a lot of conversation going on over here. Are there any good airline cards? Are there any good airline cards? So I'll get to that. So so taking advantage of that transfer bonus can only really happen is if you have points from all different currencies. So if you can get yourself thank you points with City, get them. You never know if there's going to be a transfer bonus going on to a program you want. Same thing with venture miles. I see people get denied from some banks and just go, oh, you know what? I'm done with them. I don't want to be a part of these banks anymore because they don't want my business. So therefore, I'm not going to try to be part. No, just okay. I'll just wait until next time it's available. Definitely keep on trying to move forward with that. So Keith asks, you're asking, are there any good airline cards? It depends on what you're looking for with the airline card is what I would say. So like an airline card that I tell people that I think is really good, and I mean, not as many people talk about. I guess I don't know if I say really good, but it has a good benefit, would end up being something like the JetBlue business card. The reason why I like the JetBlue business card is because it costs $100, but you get yourself priority A boarding, which means that you were the first person on the plane with the people who are in Mint, with everyone who has status. You are the first group, I mean, other than like the military and people like that, but you are pretty much the first group when it comes to just like the top tier people who end up getting on the plane. You also get yourself 5,000 points every single year, and the card costs $99. You get yourself a free check bag. Even if it was just 5,000 points in Group A boarding, that, in my opinion, is worth $99 if you fly JetBlue. So that right there could end up being a decent card. You get yourself 6x back when it comes to the points you're going to be earning with the JetBlue card. So if you happen to be flying with JetBlue, I'm not saying that you should get it over. So like I would prefer I can have a JetBlue card where I can get 6x, and I also have American Express Platinum card where I end up getting myself 5x. I use the American Express Platinum card because I prefer the transferable currencies, more valuable than the 6x. But the thing about it is that at least with that card, you can't have the Amex Platinum card and earn more points than you would with something like the JetBlue. Whereas if you look at it with something like Delta, you're going to be earning more points. If you look at it something like with most of the United cards, you're going to be earning more points if you have the like just like the Chase either Ink Preferred or Chase Sapphire Reserve, getting yourself 3x. So the earning rates for a lot of the cards don't end up being that great, but it depends on what you're looking for. So I just think that there was one from Barclays with AA. I'm thinking it's the silver one. They used to give you like $25. I think it was like a flight for towards food. I could be messing up the numbers just a little bit, but something near that. But then they removed food on not on like to be able to purchase. So if American Airlines brought that back and you were able to use that, you could get yourself a ton of value with that. And I think they also gave you like a certain amount towards on in-flight what do you call it internet as well. So yeah, there are some cards that can work out. I guess Keith said it here. So you said Alaska Business, AA Business, and Airplane card interest me. Out of those, I've had all of them. Well, actually, I gotta say I haven't had the Airplane. It's one that I've been looking at getting. The Airplane card is one that can end up being really good if you want to do your pay yourself back type of thing. I mean, the Airplane miles technically can end up being a lot more valuable, but if you wanted something where you could end up getting yourself 1.25, if you can end up taking advantage of a transfer bonus to Airplane from like your Chase Bank or from some type of, say you happen to have your like your was it venture miles, you're gonna transfer them over to there, then you could have those miles get a transfer bonus if you could take advantage, or say with like Amex. If you do a big amount, I have heard that people gotten canceled, but then you can end up essentially getting yourself back like over 1.5 cents on just all travel, and that doesn't have to be through the portal. So you get to use the card, redeem it, and you can end up getting yourself back. The Alaska card used to be really good when it came to having the companion pass, but then they made it now that you have to do spend on it. I believe it's $6,000 you have to spend. The AA business card, for me, it was a sign-up bonus card. AA miles are, in my opinion, the most valuable miles in the game. But I wouldn't see myself putting a ton of spend on that card. So Walmart Travel says, what is your definition of good? Yeah. Keeper cards because it earns. Yeah. Let's see. I got too many kids to chase airline status. I prefer a hotel status. Yes. So that's something. Okay. So we went over points. Does it make sense to be loyal to points programs? I know I hear people talk about it in some of the different videos that they're making, or I see people write it in comments where they're very loyal to certain programs. Are there points that I value more with some programs versus the other? Yes, I do value some more than the other. But am I loyal to any points programs? No, I'm not loyal to any points programs. I want to have points from all the different programs because it gives you so much more versatility. But when we end up looking at airline status, I'm even less loyal with airline status. I would see myself more being like, okay, if need be, I'll just try to earn Chase points, just get Chase points. But when it comes to airline status, if you are not naturally getting airline status, I seriously don't know why. There's people there like I need someone to explain it to me because when I look and do the math of it, it doesn't make that much sense. Because there's people who are seeking airline status and they go through all this different trouble to get airline status. And then I'm like, well, what are you getting from the status that you're not getting from? If you're using your points to fly internationally in business, you're using your points to do all these different things, then my question is what are you getting from the status? Because if you're flying international in business, if you're talking about getting lounges, well, you're going to get the business class lounge from flying international in business. Like I've already flown a number of times international business this year, and also in first. And when I've done that, I've stayed. I just went to the lounge that was connected to the program. So I guess if you wanted status, you could get yourself the lounges for when you're not doing these international flights. If you happen to be flying, I guess just domestically, you end up getting status with British Airways to be able to get access to the American Airlines lounge. Okay, I guess maybe that can make sense, but is that worth that level of hassle to be able to get? Like it can end up costing a decent amount of money, and sometimes you're gonna end up having to do, depending on which airline you're flying with, so like have to do certain type of legs and trying to make sure you can end up having enough flights to get status. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I understand that the value of getting status, you can get those upgrades, which can end up being great. But if you want these consistent upgrades, I'm imagining that you're flying a lot is why you want these consistent upgrades. Because for me, I'm like, oh, I mean, I've had airline status before, the like very low. Honestly forget how I even got it. And I've even had the ability to like like what is the status match to get airline status and things like that. And a lot of times I'm like, I'm just so not loyal to airlines that, and plus I would have to be flying from like, I'd have to, I can't even think of it. I'd have to be flying like LA to like Seattle constantly to make it make sense for me to keep on doing it. But let's see. Keith S. still talking about the airline cards and rewards. One Way Travel says airplane getting 3x dining, groceries, and 10x back for getting 50,000 points from Chase is not bad. Yes. Yeah, that card can end up being, I think, one of the better airline cards for sure. I would definitely agree with that's one that I want to get. The only reason why I haven't gotten it yet, honestly, is because I'm at 424 and I'm trying to stay under there because I've just been racking up Ultimate War points, and I'd rather Ultimate War points before getting airplane miles. But as soon as I get down to something like a 2 or 324, that's one of the top cards I want to get for sure. So Keith S. still talking a long way, saying that's my thoughts. Process airplane card. Let's see. M2K says upgraded my preferred to the reserved. Okay, for my upcoming Europe trip to take advantage of the benefits. I have Chase cards, but will get into AA cards with Citi when my inquiries go down. Okay, cool. Curious why you went with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. I guess just because you're less having the thought process for all the different travels you can be doing in Europe. Can make sense. Like, even though I'm someone who's not as big of a fan of the Chase Sapphire Reserve, I know people who it works for. So if it's something that works for you, then that can make a lot of sense. But yes, yeah, jump onto Citi cards. I hear that they're sensitive to inquiries, but I've gotten them and I have a lot of inquiries. And yeah, the only one I haven't been able to get is the Premier card. I've applied for it, I think, at least 2 times and gotten denied both times. But I've gotten the AA cards and it hasn't been a problem at all. Always says, why doesn't Aeroplan just make a business card? Yeah, that'd be great. I don't know. They're probably because they know that. Well, they just came out with the regular card, so I could see them taking a little bit of time before they do it. Yeah. Let's see. They have a Canadian one. I looked. Nothing in the States. Okay. Hey, what's going on? We got a new person in the house. United Club card. Yeah, that one you can. Well, not the United Club. The Quest card, I guess, is the one I was more thinking of. Where the Quest card can actually end up being more valuable if you use it. If you use the Quest card, they're like there's a lot of you can get different credits. You get also getting points when you're redeeming your United miles. The reason why I wouldn't want to get the Quest card now is because, other than like the sign up bonus to get back the United miles, United just keeps on making their miles just less. United is going to be Delta in a year. When I'm looking at some of the stuff they're doing with their programs and how they're doing stuff with partners, it's just, I don't really redeem many United miles like that. There was a moment a couple of years ago where I was getting United miles and I was even using like different shopping portals to try to get my United miles. And then after I was just like, all right, I'm done. After they just like kept on devaluing their miles, and it's not even competitive to some of the other programs to the point where the only way I'd ever use United miles is just for a speculative book so that I have the ability for free cancellation. Other than that, it's not competitive for the point. But the club card, you do get a couple of club passes. But I would say the Quest card, if you're someone who wants to fly with United, I think it's a better card to go with. Let's see. Yeah, he's talking about the same thing. Doesn't think United loyalty program is very good. I would agree. Let's see. Especially with. Yeah. Okay, what's going on, Todd? So Todd says Hyatt has an unimpressive points redemption value through Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The good news is that there are 46 Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels listed in Portugal. Okay, I just have to figure out when I can get to Portugal. Okay, well, that's something I did not do the research on to see that, but yeah, that's interesting to know. Yeah, if you can get yourself, I guess. I haven't looked at all the properties, so I do need to look. I just checked out a little bit, and it just didn't look good. And then I've read some articles, and other people were saying it doesn't look good. But I bet you that there's probably some, like maybe a couple of sweet spots, maybe out in Portugal. But yeah, I don't know. Cesar, what's going on? We got Cesar on the house. Anyone who can speak Spanish, check out his channel. He's an awesome channel, and he's growing fast, man. Just dominating the Spanish-speaking credit card community. So there's always been a great support of the channel. So thank you so much for being here. We also have Filmo. What's going on? Airline cards are for subs. Kind of. It's kind of what it seems like with a lot of them. Yeah, there's not a ton. As I say, I still think that the JetBlue business card is one that if you fly JetBlue, $99, Group A boarding, 5,000 points. You still can get yourself the JetBlue vacations as well. There's a number of different things you can get for that card, but that one I think is worth it. Yeah, that's one that I would say. I've been lucky with City, got the quadfecta in 5 months. Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. City has not been as kind to me. No, well, that's a lie. City's only been mean to me for the one card. Every other card, City's been good with me. I'm leaving next week, so I want to use for airport restaurants. Oh yeah, they still have it, and all public transportation to justify the annual fee. Next year, I will downgrade. Okay, yeah, if you're just using it for this specific trip, trying to get it there, and then just go back. I just watched. Was that Joe Barretto? He had that video where he was talking about how he upgraded to the Sapphire Reserve. And I forget what was it, like a day or a couple of days where he was like, why did I do that? And he said it was more just like the hype of hearing so many people talk about it. But then he just regretted it, called back up the customer service person, and they just let him switch back. Let him switch back. It wasn't a big deal. I think he started doing the math and started going, where am I making up the money for the $250? That just ends up being it for myself when, it used to be $450. I mean, I guess this was, how long ago was that? This was what, 2019, maybe it was $450. As soon as it jumped up to 550, I was like, okay, you got to make something. Like when Amex jumped up from, was it 550 to 695? I believe that's what the jump was. They just threw all these credits through all these things, pretty much being like, we get that we're upping the price, but we're going to make you feel comfortable with keeping this card from all the other things we're going to be giving you. But with Chase, they were like, no, we think our card's really good. You can get Lyft bikes and whatever other ridiculous things they add on there. So for me, I just I can't see myself getting that card. But I don't know. Maybe, as you said, for yourself, especially for this trip, can make a lot of sense. So let's see. Keith S says I can get 2x miles with my spend on my Alaska business card. I'm probably going to start with them, but won't because to earn status. Because it requires a decent amount of flights to earn status. Yes. Yeah, Alaska's still more old-fashioned where you still have to, with the flying, and then also you earn miles for flying. I have acquired, well, I've been trying to spend them, but I had for a minute like a decent amount of Alaska miles. Their last devaluation was a problem for me. And they've had like a devaluation, I would say, what, every year since I think maybe the only time they didn't have it was 2020, but like 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, they've just been, I'm not going to say dwindling, but they went from, like I flew Japan Airlines first, 70,000 miles. Now it's, depending on where you are, could end up being 105. They used to have like a partnership with Emirates. You could fly in Emirates. That whole thing is gone. They just had this other devaluation. I think Alaska miles now can work good for like not crazy cool things, but they can do okay things. They're like in the middle right now, but the problem with being in the middle is that if you're so much harder to earn your miles versus other programs, then why am I going to go for yours if you're just in the middle? I can look at something like British Airways that's just in the middle, but I can get a 30% transfer bonus over to British Airways. I can get British Airways from every transferable currency because I could just transfer over the points. So very easy to acquire. Before, Alaska miles were difficult to acquire. They used to even have like a lot like lower sign-up bonuses. And that was when I was like, oh, I want to rack up these points with this program using shopping portals and all the different stuff with Alaska. And then, yeah, right now I'm like, I don't even, I mean, I think yeah, at the moment I'm just like, I have Alaska miles. They're one of my miles that I'm not saying I'm trying to get rid of, but they're my earlier ones that I'm trying to spend. So they're not anywhere near as low as like United miles, but my Alaska miles, I'm looking at just going, okay, like Starlux is great. That's something that's cool that I got booked. But other than that, I'm looking at them and just, they're probably going to end up being like looking really good when I don't want it to happen. I'm a knock on wood. American Airlines does a devaluation of their program probably sometime soon, because if you look at all the programs that have done devaluation, every airline has done a decent one since the pandemic. And the only thing that Americans done is that they made it so that it's dynamic pricing for their own flights. They haven't really touched any of the uh, partner awards. So getting that 80,000 points for a Japan Airlines first class, which I also have booked again. Um, I don't think that that's going to be around for super long. The Etihad for 115 first class. From now they have a JFK back open for anyone who's looking for that. Um, but yeah, I guess that's my feeling when it comes to like Alaska miles. Kind of losing a little bit of faith in them. So JetBlue is Barclays. I'll probably pass because I don't want to deal with their process to get approved. Yeah, I mean I haven't had an issue. I just got, I mean, like one of the more recent cards that I got was the Hawaiian Airlines card. That's Barclays. I got the Hawaiian Airlines business card. I got approved. Actually, at first they like put me into like some type of pending thing. I thought I got denied, and then um, I forget what happened. I don't know if I just got it in the mail or I think I just happened to be looking at something and it was like telling me it was going to get shipped. Because I was telling a buddy, I was like, oh, because he was all scared about getting denied for a card. I was like, I literally just applied for 2 cards this week, got denied for both of them. What was the other one that I got denied for? I can't remember. But then I was like, oh wait, actually I guess I didn't get denied from the Hawaiians card. So now I got the Hawaiian card. I got Hawaiian miles. You can do with Hawaiian miles either 40,000 points, you get yourself a business class flight over to Hawaii, which is I think a decent deal, or you can do 65K from Hawaii over to Asia. So is it blow people's socks off type of business class flights? No, they do have a really cool new business class. It's so funny that I'm starting to see like everyone looking for the award space at some of these things. Hawaiian had like so much award space for their new business class, and I just saw it and I was just like, because I'm always looking at stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I started seeing people online scrambling, going, oh no, all of it's gone. I was like, it was available for like a week. Just like so much space. Anyone could have booked like almost any day from LA over to Hawaii with the new closing doors. It was cool and available, but yeah. But I would say still try. I mean, here's the worst. If you don't feel like dealing with the hassle, you apply for the card. If they want you to send in this or do it, I just don't even do that. When companies start asking for all this additional information, I just move on and start going to the next thing. Because I'm not going to waste, you approve me, cool. You don't, fine, I'm moving on. And I might call up. There has been times where I've had to call up because I think I put down like the wrong number of how much I made or something like that. I missed like a zero. So stuff like that I may call, but I'm not going through a ridiculous amount of effort that I've seen some people do to try to get a card. I'm just gonna go for the card, and then if I get approved, fantastic. If I don't, move on. But I wouldn't fear Barclays. What's the worst they're gonna do? Deny you? It's not that big of a deal. I heard if you have a Bank of America account and if you apply for the Alaskan business card, personal in a month, it will only count as one inquiry. Yes, you are correct about that. I've had both of the cards. Um, uh, Granted, you are going to have to make up all of that spend, so it depends on where you are spend level. But I think that only end up being, I forget how much the spend for the sign up bonuses is right now. But yeah, there are different tricks you can end up doing with Alaskan Airlines when it comes to getting their cards. The personal card, you have to wait 2 years after your previous welcome offer. The business card, you can get technically multiple, which I've done. Keith S is on the gardening side. It's personal, understandable. Just saying, okay. Yep, these are all true. Hawaiian Airlines has the the new seats. Yep, yeah. So I'm pretty sure that all of them. I don't know about 100% of them. I looked at 100%, but most of them are going to end up being booked up right now from LA, which they just started. They're going to start flying them in May. I forget when exactly it is. Maybe like May 10th. Don't quote me on that. But but they released their new business class. I think they first flew out of San Fran. They were doing San Fran to Honolulu, where they had the business class with the new doors, and it looked cool. I was like, wow, I kind of want to go do that, but I already have like so much trips already booked this year and so much other things. And do I just want to do it just for that business class? Like I want to go to Hawaii at some point. It is going to be cool to fly in that specific business class. But I just I didn't book it. But yeah, if you can find it for the Save Reward, it's only 40,000 points. And here's maybe I don't know how many people even know this, but Hawaiian has different partnerships. Hawaiian has a partnership with Virgin Atlantic. It's only 40,000 Virgin Atlantic miles as well. You can do it with JetBlue, but JetBlue is 50,000 JetBlue miles. So you wouldn't want to do it with JetBlue. It's not going to make that much sense. Virgin Atlantic has a 30% transfer bonus with Capital One and American Express right now. So if you take advantage of that, I don't know exactly what that comes up to, but it's somewhere near like 32,000 or something right around there. Is what it would cost to get yourself a business class flight. You can still do the old business class over to Hawaii, but you could be able to do that if you can find the award availability. And I've noticed that Hawaiian's pretty good about like the availability when it comes to in their business class. I don't know. I was helping out a client last year, and we were looking for award space, and he needed to get over to Korea for Christmas, and it was really difficult to find some things for him. And then I saw that Hawaiian Airlines had like different type of award availability, so it made me really look into their program more. I started seeing that although Hawaiian Airlines doesn't have listen, it's not going to be Singapore suites, it's not going to be ANA first class, but if you want to lay flat bed for not that many miles, I mean, think about it. If you can do it with Virgin Atlantic, and you can get yourself a 5+ hour flight from the west coast of the U.S. Heck, say you even do it with, well, I don't know if Virgin Atlantic, it might end up being distance based from somewhere like Dallas. I think it's Dallas that they fly out of, but even at 40,000 points, if you can do that at 40,000 points, get yourself a business class flight from Dallas over to Hawaii. How much does that end up? What is that? So that's like 40,000 points for an 8-hour flight. I mean, when people think about flying over an ocean, you would call that an insane deal. When people say, "Oh, you're just going to Hawaii," no one even thinks that much of it. When it's like it's a pretty darn good deal to be able to do that type of business class flight for that distance, for that amount of points. So, yeah, at some point, maybe I will fly over to Hawaii again. I was there during at the height of the pandemic because there was a flight round trip to Hawaii for like, I forget what it was, like $120. It was something like ridiculously low. So anyone who was booking in 2021, like I was, not awards, just doing cash bookings, every flight was cheap. I went to Alaska, I went to Hawaii, I forget where else I went to, but I was doing all these flights round trip for like mid $100. It was incredible when it came to cash fares. And if you did want to book with like some hotels, there was like, I saw the amount of like Hyatt hotels where I was getting those, where it was like you could book on a online site for even cheaper versus the Hyatt thing where you get the 5,000 points. I forget exactly what the name's called. Best rate guaranteed. I was doing that like at so many different Hyatt properties. It just was incredible in 2021 when it came to price point for booking, because not a lot of people were traveling. They were just like giving it away almost. It was kind of incredible. We got Sledge Inc. in the house. What's going on? Everyone, give it up to Sledge. Let's see. M2K says, I want to go next September to Hawaii, so I'll see if I can try it out. Yeah. Check to see for September. And if you don't have, like, you don't need to transfer over your membership reward points to Hawaiian. Granted, there is going to be more availability with Hawaiian if you do it that way, but you can look at transferring over to Virgin Atlantic and finding the award availability through not specifically through Virgin Atlantic, but through either Hawaiian or through JetBlue. You can find it, and then from there you do have to call, but you can be able to book it. So yeah, I'm taking advantage of this Virgin Atlantic promo that's going on. I'm going to speculatively book transfer. I just have been using Virgin Atlantic miles I would say I've used it at a decent rate last year, or I guess in the last year of booking. I don't know about specifically like all of last year, but and I just have liked it. And it's just I want to be able to take advantage of transfer bonuses as they're going on, and then be able to have the miles already there. And I know people don't like to do it because certain devaluations, but Virgin Atlantic already did a devaluation last year. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but obviously now the devaluations are great. But it was something that I was able to. I was like, okay, it's still decent deals, still worth it. So, but okay. So since not as much conversation anymore in the chat, we're going to go back to what was discussed over here. So what programs are worth being loyal to? So I went saying that points programs, it does not make any sense. Please diversify your points. I know it seems good to have a million Chase Ultimate Reward points, but I would rather 500,000. I'd rather give me 250 Chase, 250 City, 250 um, uh, Venture Miles, and 250 Amex. Give me some, break it up into a way like that. I mean, maybe I don't want it exactly that much because I do rate some of the points a little bit different, but I'm saying that I'd rather, instead of a million Chase points, I'd rather 500,000 Chase points and then points in the other currencies, just to be able to take advantage of transfer bonuses and find other different sweet spots out there. So diversify your points. You're going to be thankful for it when you end up doing it, even if it's with programs you're not a huge fan of. I have a Hawaiian miles. I've never flown on Hawaiian Airlines before. All I know is that I may end up using it to fly from Hawaii over to New Zealand, over to Australia, over to Korea, over to Japan. There's opportunities now because I took advantage of that, getting those points. And then also when they end up possibly merging with Alaskan Airlines, and then I might end up having opportunities there that I don't even realize what I even have from taking advantage of the merger with Alaskan Airlines. Airline status. When it comes to airline status, if you're flying and naturally getting airline status, get airline status. If you're not, I would love to know. I would love for someone to explain to me who's deep. If you're not in the points miles game, then I understand why you'd want to get airline status because you don't know how to redeem points to get yourself better value for these different things. But if you're in the points miles game and you can get yourself lounge access and you can get yourself free check bags, you can get all these different things. What is the reason for the hassle to get the status other than to say you got the status? That's the thing I don't understand. Now, coming to hotel status. Hotel status, should you be loyal to it? So I would say that I think that it can make some sense to be more loyal to hotel status versus the other statuses. And the reason why is because, one, the ability to get hotel status for a lot of different programs, you may not need to do a ton of stuff. So you get yourself a couple of cards with the Marriott program. You can get yourself Marriott. You might have to do some stays as well, but you can get yourself pretty close to like platinum status with Marriott. With Hilton, you just get yourself a few different cards. You can get different statuses of Hilton, whether it be the American Express Platinum card can give you gold status, the Hilton Surpass card can give you gold status. I think you might be able to get silver status with the no annual fee one, but doesn't mean anything. And then with the Aspire card, you get diamond status. Getting yourself diamond status or gold status can make a lot of sense to stay loyal to that hotel program. If you know that you go there and you're going to be traveling within the U.S., you're going to get yourself a daily credit every single time you go to that property. That can make a lot of sense to be loyal to it because you're going to get the daily credit. If you travel overseas, you get yourself the free breakfast. Like when I got the free breakfast at the Conrad, I thought it was fantastic. Like because sometimes a lot of different places will give you the continental breakfast that you can end up getting, but then sometimes you end up getting these different breakfasts, especially overseas, and you go, wow, this was a really good breakfast to be able to get from having gold status staying at the Conrad in Osaka. So that ended up being great and made a lot of sense to be able to. Makes a lot of sense for anyone who wants to be loyal to be able to stay loyal with that. And then when you look at other programs, you look at IHG, there are different tricks to get status with IHG. Some of the times you have to pay some money, but it can end up being worth it. I know there was someone in the last live that I did that was talking about it as well, how they were getting IHG status and they're going to be staying there for many days. But I think the reason why it ends up making sense is because you already start to get value from it before you even get the status. And then I can easily monetarily come up with the value that I'm getting from these statuses, which I don't think I can do the same way with airline status. Now, Hyatt status. I would say a Hyatt status, if you're going to get yourself Explorer status, don't work any type of effort for it. You're going to get yourself Discoverous, which, these type of statuses aren't worth the effort. And when it comes to Globalist status, it depends on to what level of effort you're going to put into it and to what amount of gains you're going to get from being a globalist. If you're just a globalist and you are, because so many people want to be globalists. Like I tell people, like, oh yeah, I got globalist status, and then I have to try to get it. I have to. Oh, how many Hyatts do you stay at in the last year? Well, I stayed at, I had a week-long stay. Well, is it going to be worth the hassle to try to get yourself globalist? Even if you do a status challenge where it's 20 nights, to do it for maybe a week-long stay, or you have a couple of 4-night stays, do you really need globalist for that? Can you get yourself good value from it? Sure. You get yourself that free breakfast, but you could also get yourself the free breakfast if you end up having the Hilton Aspire card. Okay. There's certain things like the free parking that can end up being big. There's certain things like the room upgrades. But for me, the way I look at it with Hyatt is, while the status of globalist is nice, it's more of the tier milestones that I look at, that I see that adds into the value of globalist. It's not just becoming a globalist; it's the road to globalist. So Marriott has something kind of similar, but the stuff they give you is not, I don't think, as valuable as a lot of stuff that the Hyatt gives you. And then Hilton, unless I'm thinking incorrectly, other than like with the spend on the card, you can't really earn type of benefits on your way up to becoming getting the different status. I could be wrong on that. I have to relook at that, but I mainly just think of getting the cards because that's how it ends up being with the status with Hilton. So when I end up looking at it for when it comes to Hyatt, I go, okay, so with Hyatt, you're going to get yourself free lounge access. So you can get yourself to the club lounge. I was using the club lounge when I was in Sydney, Australia. I don't know how much value I got from that, but it was definitely over $100. I would have myself a couple of beers. I'd have myself some different food. I will say the one in Sydney didn't have the greatest when it comes to like food options, but it was okay. But I've had other ones that have had decent food options, and I know that like one of the properties I'm going to be staying at in the next month has a nice lounge, and it's going to end up giving me value there. So I would say that hotel status can make sense, but I do start to wonder, to what level does it make sense to go through the process? Like if I could just be a Hilton Gold, would I be just as happy as being a Hyatt Globalist? That I don't know. That's something where, like, I look at the Gold and I go, wow, there's a lot of good things about being Hilton Gold. It costs significantly less to get the Hilton Gold. But then what ends up coming down to is, okay, well, re-earning the Hilton points is where it ends up becoming the more challenging. It's not that I couldn't earn some Hilton points, and I still have Hilton points, but it's just re-earning enough Hilton points to where the majority of my Hilton stays throughout the year are going to end up being from redeeming Hilton points. Let's see. So we got Filmo here saying, love when there are transfer bonuses. We just transferred 77,000 Capital One miles to Virgin and booked two. Yes, the Delta One. There you go, from JFK to Frankfurt. Awesome. I saw those. I saw different. I don't know how many people here follow Thrifty Traveler. If you guys don't have a subscription to them, but it's something that shows you different award space. Anyone who wants to go to Taipei, Taiwan, there is like a deal. If you happen to have a Delta card, it's like 146,000. It might already be gone by now, the deal, but it was like 146,000 round trip in Delta One from Seattle to Taipei. But it has to be in like July, August, which I'm imagining it's probably stupid hot in Taiwan during that time. But if you want to go and you have the availability, you can get over to, or you have Delta Sky Miles, you can get over there. That can end up being a great deal. But yeah, Virgin Atlantic, it's funny. I was recently listening to like Frequent Miler, and they were talking about how they wouldn't speculatively transfer over to Virgin, which, okay, I can understand why you may not want to. But I've just been seeing, I've gotten so much value from Virgin. I've just been like, okay, wow, I got, I could see ITA. You could do that one. You could do Delta One. You could fly in Korean Air. I've seen availability for Korean Air where if you could, like I saw one from Boston over to Seoul, Korea. It is 100,000 Virgin Atlantic miles, but if you add in a 30% transfer bonus, that ends up being a decent deal to be able to fly that far over to Korea, which ends up being pretty hard to find like space and everything and fly with Korean Air. So obviously, like at 100 just straight up, that might end up being a little bit more on the expensive side in business class, but it is like 14 hours of flying. If you can get that transfer bonus, it can make a lot of sense. But yeah, I think that Virgin, I'm about to do a decent size speculative transfer over to Virgin Atlantic, because there's just been so many different times where I see awards that I want to book and I start going, maybe I'll book this. And then it just happens to not be the transfer bonus, or it just, there was one where I saw her flying ANA first class out of New York, and I was thinking about booking it. And then there was an issue with me trying to transfer over my Capital One Venture Miles to my Virgin Atlantic account. I don't know what the heck was going on there, but wouldn't let me. But that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to get that. I have been looking at doing something like that just because I want to. So this year I did American Airlines, their first class. I did United Polaris, and I want to do Delta One just to have all of it wrapped in for the year. But a lot of the stuff that I book pretty far in advance. So I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to be able to fit in that Delta One. But I've been seeing Delta One recently. I mean, there was like a year where I couldn't see any Delta One, but recently I've been seeing it kind of popping up in different spots to where I kind of want to book it and then just be able to get myself the Delta One. But I'm happy to hear that you got it. That's so awesome, Philmo. All right. I'm running out of Chase subs. What point system should I try next? You're running out of Chase subs. I don't know what other point system you currently have. If you're running out of Chase subs, I would look at, American Express obviously would be the next one. It's going to be the one you're probably going to end up being able to earn the most points with. I don't know what program I earn more points with other than American Express. I'm pretty sure whether it be through like Rakuten, doing shopping portals, whether it be just from the spend on the cards, different things from Amex offers. Definitely American Express would end up being the one that I would say. After that, I like my Venture X card is my favorite card, has become my favorite card. So getting yourself some Venture Miles, and then if you have a player too, there's a really decent referral bonus you can end up getting with Venture cards. So it's not going to like fill in, I guess, if you happen to be doing Hyatt stays or if you're looking for hotel stays. So if you do it with something like that, you could do City with Choice if you're looking for something for stays. But American Express, like if I'm going to rank my points, I think that I probably get the most like actual point value out of American Express, even though I like Chase points. I don't even say I even like Chase points more. I just like the ability to have my Hyatt option with Chase. But Chase and American Express, we got them up here. Then I would go to Capital One, and then I would go to City. Because which one? I'm trying to remember. Does City not have? I forget which transfer partner City doesn't have. I think they don't have like Air Canada or something like that. Which kind of being kind of big. But everyone's saying what's up to Sledge. Oh, hey, we got a super chat, and thank you so much, Keith S. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. I got to use my Shake Shack credit for Amex, for your gold card, and became a Built Gold status today. Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah, so we end up getting those transfer bonuses. I'm curious. So I don't know if this is the first, you say, I don't know if this is the first time you gotten the Built Gold status, but have you been doing some, like what has been the transfer bonus you've been the happiest with Built? Was it the Air Canada one? Did you just go full blast on that? Did you take advantage of the Virgin Atlantic? I know that for me, I went on the Flying Blue. When they had Flying Blue 100%, I was just like, there were all my Built points. 100% is just too good of a guarantee. But that's pretty awesome. Yeah. Built. I've heard arguments against to why Built. Why people don't want Built because of how much you start to focus on Built. The reality is that Built points are the most valuable points in the game. They're just harder to earn. But if I could have 100,000 of any points, it would be Built. It'd be Built just because I still have American Airlines as a transfer partner for the next few months. I still have, you get Alaskan, even though, as I said, I'm not as a little more dicey with them. But if they keep on doing these transfer bonuses, which something tells me that they might have just did it, a lot of it last year, although I think the Air Canada one was this year. They did a lot of it was because it's advertisement. It costs them a ton, but it ends up being advertisement where everyone's talking about them. So I don't know how consistent they're going to be with those moving forward into 2024, because they did a lot of them last year. They did 2 times to Flying Blue, They did one time to Air Canada. Well, I think that was more recent. They did with Virgin. I think was it once or twice. Then they had the Hawaiian Airlines where they had like double. I don't know if that was 2 years ago or when it first came out though. But they had a decent amount of them where it was like, holy smokes, you guys are killing it with these bonuses. You have the Hyatt status match, all these different things that they were doing to the point where I'm wondering how sustainable it is. Um, but I've talked to people who are like who work with Built, and they told me that the company's doing very well, and the people who are running it are really happy with how it's going. I mean, people say that. I don't really know, but they were like, yeah, it's sustainable because there was something if anyone remembers like Brex, where like people were like, wow, this is great. Look at all these points you can earn, and then the points just became useless, and that's my fear about what may possibly happen with Built. I as I say, Built is fantastic, so I don't want this to happen, but it's slightly like a fear to where I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see how sustainable what you're doing can end up being for the long term. People are saluting Sledge. And Keith That's also says airline status gets you more points back on cash bookings if you add your frequent flyer number. Yep. I think AA can give you 11x. Yeah, this is true. You can do that. United gives you, I forget how many, it's a ridiculous amount of points. For all of them, if you end up getting yourself, that's the same thing with hotel status as well. If you get yourself hotel status, you earn yourself more points. It's not like a ton more, at least for like Hyatt. But I know that with Hilton, if you have yourself Hilton Diamond status, you earn a ridiculous amount more points. And then on top of that, the amount of times Hilton has like those bonuses, we can end up earning even more Hilton points if you happen to be staying or using your cards during these certain times. It just ends up becoming, yeah. So yes, that is true where you can get those amount of points, but that's again that still comes down to if you are constantly flying with that program already naturally, that makes sense. But chasing it, like I can people who do, I know people who do, and even myself, I've done like a few nights where it's like a mattress run specifically for like Hyatt stays, where I can go, okay, cool. If I do a couple of nights, I'm going to get this much more in value. I'm going to get this award, this thing, everything can make sense. And when I look at it for airlines, I guess you can talk about how much more you'll gain from the spend. But I start going like, well, what if you're already doing that naturally? Then I guess it can make sense from you doing it through work or whatever it is. I don't know. I want to talk to someone who's into points and miles, who chases airline status, and I see a lot of them do it. So I wonder why. I wonder what they're really getting from it. So because if you have points and miles, you can just redeem points and miles for all these different award bookings, and then you can be able to go. Yeah, I'm repeating myself. Cesar says Virgin Atlantic, Air Canada are very good. Yeah. Air Canada is really, really, really good. What can even be better than Air Canada? I don't know if I'm gonna say better. That's a lie. What can even be like very competitive to Air Canada is if you look at Avianca. The problem with Avianca, and I don't even really try to recommend them to people, is because they can end up being a massive headache when it comes to their website, and sometimes availability is just not there for them. And there's many times where I can't even do a search on my computer. I have to do it on my phone, or it's just like there just ends up being so many different challenges to where Air Canada is a more reliable program. But at the same time, there's times where you may see a deal with Air Canada. If you check on Avianca, you might go, oh, goodness, Avianca is giving me for cheaper. The question is there going to be some type of headache if it doesn't work out with Avianca? So, yeah, check out. I mean, these are all just, I guess you're talking about the different transfer bonuses from those programs. Yep. But for anyone who's into Air Canada and you're just looking for some type of business class, depending on where you're going, also look at Avianca. They have some really, really competitive price points. Let's see. Keith S says, I've only had my Bilt card for less than 3 months. Okay. I haven't been able to do a transfer yet. I've got 83,000 points. Nice. Yeah, I would wait till you see one of these stupid big transfers. I mean, shoot, if you're at gold, that means that if they're doing it how they're doing it before, maybe you ought to get yourself a 100% transfer bonus. If you get a 100% transfer bonus, that's a buy one, get one. 100% transfer bonus means that you could grab let's say you get up to 85,000 Bilt reward points. You could do 85,000 Bilt reward points for a round trip in A&A first class from the 85,000 Bilt reward points. That is ridiculous. Buy one first class flight one way, get another one free back the other way. That is a massive deal. Transfer bonuses are, I'm going to make a video talking about transfer bonuses and just how much people they don't think as much about them. And if you start thinking about the math that I just said, you just got yourself, you have the ability to get yourself a $10,000 flight for essentially like free, because the points you're transferring are just going to double. So you can get yourself first class there, and then they're going to give you a first class back. Is there a better deal than that? I mean, that is insane. And then if you can get it with Air Canada, if you can get it with some of the other different programs, yeah, you're killing it. You're killing it, Keith S. Just gotta, make those bookings. So that's fantastic. Vincent, what's going on? You can earn built points even if you don't have the built. Yeah, yes, you can. Yep. And I think they had a transfer with. Yeah, they did have a transfer with Emirates. The challenge with Emirates is that I don't know if it's really what ended up happening was Emirates made it so that the fuel surcharges and stuff like that and all the different fees on their program is now like a lot more expensive. So in many cases, when you're trying to fly Emirates, if you want to fly an Emirates Game Changer in first class, it might end up costing like $1,300. So it's getting to the point now of being like how British Airways is, where if you're looking for first class from British Airways, it's available almost all the time, but you have to pay like $1,000 in taxes and fees. So if you look at what the sticker price is, the ticket cost is, then you could say, yeah, well, I'm still getting myself really good value because it's a $10,000 flight. But I think most people don't want to have to spend an additional $1,000 out of their pocket. So because of that, I think that because I see Emirates first class available quite a bit. You can look it up and you'll be like, oh, it's Emirates first class here, it's Emirates first. But with the trick now that a lot of people are doing, and which I imagine you may already know, is like you book the business class, you have Emirates miles already in your Emirates account. You could try to do the transfer, but you sometimes are going to end up taking a delay. And then I think it's usually like 30,000 Emirates points to end up upgrading is what they can end up doing for first class. So if you can find the business class, get the business class cheaper, you can even book the business class with Air Canada, and then do 30,000 points to be able to get yourself the first class. But yeah, the Emirates transfer, I remember even myself, I was kind of thinking about it because I was even kind of seeing like, where would I want to fly Emirates? And then I don't know how many people even know that recently Emirates has made it available that you can fly from Miami to, I don't know which part of Colombia. I don't know if I don't think it's Medellin. I forget where it is, but you can fly from Miami to Colombia and they have an Emirates. It's one of the older planes, but they have, you can do Emirates first class. It's going to be only like a 4-hour flight, but still, anyone who wants to fly Emirates first class, you have the ability to do it from Miami to go over to Colombia. So that can end up being a way to do it on that fifth freedom flight. Hilton Diamond is underrated, not the best, but underrated. I think Hilton. Oh, you're talking about not the best as in status. Yeah, Hilton Diamond is very underrated for just having just. So I was in Fiji, like what was that? I guess like 2 months ago now, and when I was out in Fiji, the gentleman I met who's he's not from San Fran, but he lives up in San Fran, and we were at this Hilton property over in Fiji, and he was like, "Yeah, I have the Hilton." So I got upgraded to a hotel to where I I had like a pool outside of my room. Awesome. That was like really really nice. There was also like a giant pool for everyone to swim in, but I had a pool right there where I could just go down, go to the pool. This guy who had the Hilton diamond status from the Hilton card, he got like a 2-story, 3-bedroom, and we were all hanging out because he just invited a bunch of people over. Uh, his room was so massive, it was insane. Like we just invited, we were there. All these other people came by. He was chatting it up with some girl who was there. She was like so impressed. Like, oh my goodness, look at the place you got. It had like this whole balcony that just wrapped around the entire top. It was like the presidential suite that he was able to get. Granted, he was only there for one day, and I think a lot of times if you do have like diamond status, you can get yourself these insane upgrades if you're only there for like a single day, maybe 2 days. If you're there for like multiple days, they don't tend to give you this type of upgrade. But yeah, if you are a diamond status member with Hilton, like it crosses my mind about should I just switch over and just try to go full blast with Hilton as compared to trying to stick with the Hyatt program, because I do think that Hilton Diamond status is really good. I do think that Hilton Diamond status is really good, and I do think that Hilton is a really good property. When I was out in, as I said, the Conrad and Hilton, phenomenal, and I had gold status, and I got treated really well there. Yeah, that card, or not even just the card, the status is great. Let's see. Let's see. I use my points mostly for stays. Flying is second to stays. Oh, interesting. Nice. That's something I wanted to bring up. I'm not gonna do it in this video, but the value of how people value points, whether it be for flights or whether it be for stays, because in theory, or technically, when it comes to price point or like the value of the sticker price, you're going to be getting more, I want to call it savings, or I guess gains. I don't know what word to use there, but you're going to be getting more when it comes to how much value you got from redeeming for flights as compared to hotels. But there's a lot of people, like including myself, to where I really, really like the hotel stays and I value those pretty high. And if you were to ask me, like, well, would I rather fly in the nicest of planes or stay in the nicest of hotels? I'd rather stay in the nicest of hotels. It could be because of being able to, like, I haven't flown with people, so maybe if I start flying with people, then I start valuing that more. I still like it, don't get me wrong, but it's like nice hotels have just been awesome, and I've been to some nice hotels with people, and just being able to share the experience, and yeah, I really like that. But I haven't gotten to the point to where I've been like, okay, well, I'm just gonna grab all my membership reward points and I make that all the Hilton stays. I could do that, and I would be able to stay at Hilton's quite nicely, but that's interesting. Yeah, I want to have that as a video in the future, talking about using points just for stays and flying around, and who wants to do it, and I understand people. There's probably gonna be a lot of backlash from that because people are just gonna go, "What do you mean? You're gonna lose out on value because you get so much more value from this as compared to just a few $100s at the hotel stay." Yeah, but if you're there for a week, this gonna end up being, you can stay at some properties for a week and it could cost you $3,000. Sure, the flight is what it is. I'm not saying the flight isn't more expensive. The flight ended up being $15,000 if you get some type of first class, but I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. We got Miami to Bogota. Yes, exactly. It's Bogota, Colombia for the first. Yeah, on Emirates first. Yep. Yeah, that is one that something where I've thought to myself, like, if I happen to go, I've had so many buddies out here who visited Colombia, and they're all like, "You always got to go to Colombia." And I've thought to myself, like, okay, well, if I did go to Colombia, how would I go about flying there? And then I looked at the Emirates one, and I was like, oh, maybe I'd fly there on Emirates first. Might be a way to go about it. So thank you for that. Gold gives you 125%. My apologies. You're right. It's silver that gives you, yes. Thank you for corrections. Gold gives you 125%. Platinum gives you 150. Silver gives you 100 for rent day transfer bonuses. So 100, 150% is so insane. That is so ridiculous. I would never reach platinum status with, just because it ends up being an opportunity cost, is what I've heard a lot of people argue about it, is because then, but man, it could end up making, if you can get that, if you have some type of way to just hit that spend, oh goodness, that is just so many points. I mean, think about that. So you transfer over 100,000 Virgin Atlantic miles, you get yourself 250,000 Virgin Atlantic miles back. Sorry, 100,000 built points, you get 250,000 Virgin Atlantic miles back. Insane. What's going on? Welcome. Traveling with LV. You say Hilton is great overseas, got upgraded every time in Japan. Yeah. The Conrad in Osaka, I really like that. Next time I go to Osaka, I'm gonna stay at the same property. I loved how large the windows were in the room and how high up we were, and I got treated very nice. I got treated really nice at the Hilton property I stayed at in Fiji. Yeah, and like when I was, actually speaking of Miami, I was in Miami. I was at a Hilton property over there. This was a little bit ago, but I've been treated nice at Hilton. Like I shouldn't. I don't really have anything negative to say about Hilton. I guess I've just fallen for, you hear Luke Points and Miles talk about how, we're all just falling for the hype, and I'm not usually the type of person who would do things like that. I try to do the math and calculate it and make it make sense to me. For me, what it ends up just being is that I like just the ability to grab my Chase points and be able to get hotel stays that way nicely, versus if I want to do it with my Amex points over to Hilton, chances are no. So that's what ends up being the dilemma. But yeah, Hilton properties, I've been treated nicely at Hilton properties myself. Yeah, I know quite a few people who have, and who are really, my brother, he's all Hilton. So yeah, sounds great. Totally fine with flying economy. Yeah. I mean, I've flown economy to a number of places, and I will say that it starts to, I mean, I can mentally get myself prepared for it, is what I have to do. But and sometimes it does end up getting quite uncomfortable. Um, but when I did the economy on Japan Airlines, I mean, granted, I didn't have anyone sitting next to me, but that was nice. Like, or not, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Like, I don't know if I'll call it nice, but it wasn't bad. The food was good. The food was actually good. And then they give you like wine. They give you all these, like, it wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't a bad experience at all. If that's the way I had to fly to Japan every single time, I could definitely survive that. Now I've also done like United over to Europe, and the food was horrible. And I felt tight in my chair, and I remember feeling uncomfortable. And then there was the guy who was sitting next to me, and he was getting like yelled at because he brought beers onto the plane, which I don't know why he did. They're giving us free alcohol. But I guess maybe he wanted a beer, but they were like, you can't do that, and he didn't care. Um, I don't know. And they had like a whole thing that was going on, but yeah, I think to certain airlines, if you fly with them, if you can fly, I've heard also ANA is really good. Some of these different Asian airlines, um, in economy, it may end up being not a horrible experience. What ended up happening to me of why I started to go, I don't know if I'm going to be doing economy as much anymore, is because I've gotten to the point where I'm getting really good at getting points, um, whether it just be from sign up or all different ways I talk about in my videos. To if I just fly economy to all the places, I'm just going to get an over surplus of points. So I might as well use them on nice experiences versus just having additional ones I could cash out for a few $100. But since I know how to redeem them really nicely and then be able to get myself um, great stays, I'm sorry, get myself great seats and not pay a ridiculous amount on the points, um, then it just starts to make sense to redeem them for business and first class. Because I was just writing that out. I'm coming up with like a course, but it's talking about like when you start looking at the price point from economy to going up to like business class, like the price point when it comes to how much you would have to pay out of pocket would be something like if you were looking at Japan Airlines and economy from New York over to Haneda, that ends up being it ranges between like $1,500 to like $2,000. But then you can do it on American Airlines. I believe it's like 30 or 35,000 points. I think it's 35,000. I have to look it up again. But then when you go up to business class, so instead of being 1,500, you go up to business class round trip. You're looking at like 7,500. So now it's 7,500. But then the points for business class is only 60,000. So it's at most only double the amount of points. It's actually a little bit less to fly in business class using American Airlines miles when it comes to how many points is required versus it's going to be like 4x the amount when it comes to price point that you're going to end up having to spend in cash to be able to do it. And when you go to first class from business class to first class, if you're looking at that's correct me on the math because I did. I'm talking about round trips, so I messed that up a little bit. Round trip would end up being 60,000, but then you'd end up having to. Yes, it's 60,000. So round trip would end up being 60,000 for 60 or 70,000 for American Airlines, and then if you decide to do round trip and business class, it ends up being 120,000. So it ends up not even being. It's the math is still working out the same way. I know I said it in like a weird way, but then the same thing ends up happening with first class to where it's one way. If you're looking at one way, it ends up being 60,000 in business class. One way in first class in American Airlines ends up being 80,000. And if you look at it round trip, end up being, so instead of 60,000, end up being 120,000. Round trip end up being 160,000 for first class. But then when you look at business class versus first class when it comes to the sticker price, you're looking at it's like $23,000 for first class, and I said somewhere like $7,500 to $8,000 for business class. So you just at least 3x the amount of cost that's going to be, and it only ends up being 30% more when it comes to points. So it's pretty incredible, like the different amount in value you can end up getting with some of these different points. Sorry about the ramble, but I was just writing about this not too long ago, so it kind of popped back up in my head, even though I kind of screwed up in the math right there. Let's say I like avoiding taxes and fees, parking as globalist on point stays. Whenever I stay in New York, really adds up. Yes, New York has ridiculous charges when it comes to parking. United Quest over Aeroplan for your next chase card. I would go with Aeroplan just because not only do I find the Aeroplan, I'm losing most hope in United Miles outside of like the speculative booking with United, to be able to have free cancellation is really the only value I'm seeing in them. Other than that, there's just other programs. Aeroplan, if you see an award on United that's at a Saver Award, check it out on Airplane. If you want to fly from San Fran to Brisbane, Australia, on United, I believe it's 110, maybe it's 100, somewhere in 100, 110. Airplane, the exact same flight, the exact same seat is going to be 75,000. So why even have the United miles? And then here's the thing: you get a transfer bonus, you get it for even less. You're not going to get a transfer bonus over to United, I don't believe, ever. So, um, yeah, I like the card better. I like the miles better. I would say Aeroplan card over the United Quest. I understand there's some good things you can get with the Quest with like the with those different credits, and then also you can get back like a redemption of 5,000 points. Even still, Aeroplan card. Sky Bro, what's going on? Big JP, keeping up the great content. Yeah, thank you so much. Trying to do the best I can. I say, yeah, the Comrade Osaka was amazing when we went as also, yeah, it was a nice property. I really did like it there. I did. And the reality is it's not that expensive. Look at the I think I forget how much it would be points wise, but I used the Final Hotels and Resorts, so I don't only end up costing me like it was like 100-ish something dollars, but I got $125 in a credit that I was able to use for dining. So it's almost like I pretty much didn't have to really pay anything to be there. But granted, it could have been the time of year that I went. But yeah, as compared to other places in Japan, like Tokyo is really expensive. Kyoto can end up being really expensive. Colorado Osaka isn't too bad. Keith S says the Hilton business card is my catch-all. Okay, 2.5% on everything. 5x Hilton points. Okay. Yeah, I guess you and I think Luke Smile says it ain't bad either, but I've lost. I don't like that card as much, especially since they took away the free night award certificate. But I'm not saying I don't think it can work for people, and I know some people who have that card and use it for like everything because they're not really into points and miles. They just want to be able to do Hilton stays, and it works out well for them. But losing that free night award certificate, man, you just lost yourself the possibility of getting 100,000 points from $15,000 spend. It's just gone. So, yeah. Let's see. I don't mind economy, but my back and knees sure do. Yeah. My hip. I'm not even, I feel like I'm starting to get a little old because, like, my hip, I was on, I forget which flight it was where I was doing economy. And I was like, my hip's feeling uncomfortable. I just wanted to stretch it and I just couldn't. I just couldn't move my legs. So I had to feel uncomfortable. And there's people next to me. And I almost always do like a window seat. But man, yeah, my hip was bugging me the last time I did it wasn't even that far. Maybe it was like a couple hours in economy. It wasn't the last time. Was it the last time? I'm trying to think. Maybe. I don't know. I have to think back. But I do remember not too long ago my hip was hurting from an economy flight. And I was like, it'd be nice to have the bed. And yeah. I'm flying on KLM to London and Air France back home. Nice. Hopefully you got those good deals, 50K. Yeah. 50K. Well, actually, I don't know exactly how many points because it's like backtracks. I think they add a little bit more to it. But yeah, that's cool. Cool. London's a fun place. London, I went there, was that a couple of years ago? And yeah, hang out with Tower Bridge is really cool. I like it. Let's see. Hilton for the stay. Yeah, King. Yeah, I know Cesar likes. Well, Cesar doesn't like Hyatt because I remember you saying the story of what made you dislike Hyatt, which was you try to use your Hyatt points at a property and it said no availability, and you were like, "What the heck is this BS? Why is there no availability when I'm trying to use my points?" And it's like they're because they have an award chart. So then now you can't use them. So then you're like, "I'm done with the program." It's like just hold on, try again. You'll be able to make it work. I know it's frustrating. I just recently, so I got a award that I'm going to go visit my brother and everything in Germany, but I'm also going to go to Paris. And when I first booked my award over at Paris, they only had like club rooms available. And when the club rooms were available, I was like, well, wait a minute. I already get club access being a globalist. This is useless to me. But I didn't want to have to spend €400, whatever ridiculous amount it was going to cost to stay at the property. So I was like, so now I got to book the club rooms. So what I did was just I booked the club rooms. The cool thing is that when you start to, I know some people don't really like it as much, but when you start to do uh, uh Prime programs, you get the free cancellations. Man, it's just massive. And I go, okay, I'm going to book these. I don't want it, but if this is what I have to do, this is what I'm going to do. And I just waited, and then I had it booked for a while already, and I just kept on. I wouldn't say I kept on looking, but I just started to look, and I go, oh wow, some of the days that I wanted were available. Boom, I booked some of the days, and then I go, cool. The other days I want are now available. I booked the other days. I got rid of the club access rooms, so now I just have the regular days. It is all broken up. I need to call up my concierge to have it all connected, but I'm like, sweet. I just saved myself. I forget how many. There's tens of thousands of like maybe close to like 40-ish thousand Hyatt points just from rebooking because of I was in some stupid club rooms, and then I end up getting myself not club rooms, and then um, uh, some of them were not standard nights as well. So yeah, flying out of San Francisco. Okay, so that's going to be what is that? You're looking at what 10.5 hours right there. Let me say I'm married, so flying prices double for me. They do, but you can earn twice as many points. I do also. I would like to talk to some different people who are married and wonder what's a better game. Is the game better to fly? Is the points and miles game better if you are solo traveler, or is the points and miles game better if you are a couple? Now, family's hard, but if you are a couple, you get to earn yourself twice as many points. You get to refer your couple friend. Um, and yeah, and then when it comes to hotel stays, you get two people for the hotel for one person paying for it. So it ends up being fantastic. So you can earn a lot more points as a two-player system. The challenge ends up being is that if you want to fly in things like first class, then the odds of finding first class for two people is incredibly difficult. Um, and then business class, I do think that business class is possible, but it still does become challenging as compared to for one person. So I think that when you look at it, award availability is more open for a single person, but the ability to earn points is significantly higher. Not significantly higher. I would say a decent amount higher for a two-player system. Yeah. So great ramble. Thank you. Yeah, that's the reason why I like to have another person who. It's different when you're talking. I'm talking to you all, but it's different when not don't have another person to bounce off of, because then it's kind of like, when do I stop versus feeling like I've gotten my point across, because I don't have a feedback of a nod of a head or anything like that. So didn't Frequent Miler just put an article? United has blocked award saver space for their Star Alliance partners. So I'm pretty sure that it's only for like domestic, because I just looked up not too long ago. I just had a client this morning that I was helping out with an award booking, and that person who I was helping out, United was an option that we're looking at booking through Air Canada. So I think what they were referring to is more of like, if you like using Turkish miles and smiles to do, I don't know if you can ever find the business like United Polaris domestic, but mainly the economy flights. United is making it harder to come by. It's something like you might notice if you've ever used like Qatar or British Airways trying to book American Airlines flights, where it's like, okay, some days they have it available, some less days they don't. I noticed that Delta has been making it. Sometimes they're a little bit stingy with it as well. Plus, Virgin just kind of like devalued the Delta flight, so it's not as good. Um, but but yeah, they did talk about that, but I'm pretty sure it's mainly what they're talking about is domestic, because I think they're starting to realize that the domestic. I mean, it's kind of similar with well, no, because it's at least more expensive when it comes to with like actually I guess if you use Qatar, it's still at the old price point for American Airlines, but they want I think that they're trying to keep at least still the value of their program within their own country, because that's where most people are going to be trying to redeem it, because most people don't really understand the game. So I don't think that you have to be as concerned, at least at the moment right now, Keith, for Star Alliance partners internationally. I have looked since that article has come out, and I have seen, even just today, finding space for Star Alliance. For our return trip, I booked KLM Amsterdam to Boston, business class for 58,000 each, flying blue. Looking forward to it. Yeah, that's awesome. I have a a KLM flight later on this year, and I'm interested in seeing how that ends up being. Yeah, I want to try out. There's some products where I like to do because I like the deal. So I look at like Iberia business class. The deal is so good that I just, even though I'm like, I've already flown this a few times, I'm like, yeah, but it's a really good deal. And I don't think it's a bad product, but I also want to try out new things. So that's really cool to be able to try out do the KLM, and I'm looking forward to trying that out later on this year. So hopefully, I forget when you said you were going there. When did you say? Um, well, hopefully you can tell me about it after the trip is done, and I can get a good review on it from yourself. Okay, the Intercontinental Grande in Paris is fantastic. Is it? Okay, yes. I need to, honestly, I've been trying to figure out how to access some more IHG points because I've been seeing places to where I'm like, oh, there's an IHG property there, but I don't really have any points. So I just have so many different cards with Chase, and I don't want to over push the limit. I know some people do it anyways, but don't want too many eyes on my Chase account from all the Chase cards that I have. But at some point, I am probably looking at trying to get myself some IHG points because while I wouldn't transfer any points to the program, I do see the value in the program for they have a lot of different properties and you can get some good value from them. So, and then that fourth night free can end up being pretty darn big. And it's a real fourth night free to where they don't grab the cheapest one and then they knock off that. It's the fourth night is free if you have the card, do the whole thing with the points. So that's cool. Yeah. The one I'm gonna be staying at is the Hyatt Regency I forget even what the name is, but it's that like the taller one that it's got like a skyscraper that has like a nice view of the Eiffel Tower from like the top. So I had the ability to just get some of the other ones out there. But I was just there was a Hilton property that looked really cool. Well, no, that was for Rome. That was for a different spot. Um, uh, but I saw that one to be better. I was thinking that there was the Hyatt, there's the Park Hyatt out there. Was it the Verdun? When I first was booking, I saw availability, but sometimes when I look at some of these properties that have so much more points that are required, even though the sticker price is so high, I need something that needs to blow me away to say that I want to spend that amount of points. Because I'm okay with spending the points if I feel like, wow, there's something here that's going to give me that. And when I look at that, I think that's one of those where people say this. I mean, I don't know. I have heard good reviews, so I shouldn't talk until I even stay there myself. But where I'm just like, well, if the property costs less, would people talk about it as much? Sometimes the price point that's put on there that people get to say how much they saved is what makes people talk about how great it is. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate for that one because I actually have heard quite a few people say something nice about it, but I just didn't wow me looking at it. My wife and I refer inks to each other and earn an extra 40. Exactly. Yeah. The ability to earn points in two-player mode can end up being massive. And we have Cesar over here saying, I've gotten very good value with Hilton and Hyatt so far. I've been getting the worst value with Marriott. Yeah. I made my peace. I made my peace with Hyatt, but Hyatt can't. The cards are trash. I'm glad to hear you made your peace with Hyatt. Excuse me. Yeah. Going back to Marriott, I think Marriott's in the same position as Delta, to where when you were so popular and you were like above. I don't know if you want to say above all, but essentially above all. Like Delta is so popular. There's people who are just like, all that flies Delta. That's all I'm going to do. Because of that, they don't really need to value their points as high because people are going to stick with their program because they don't really understand how the points work. They just know if they have Delta miles. Delta is really good when it comes to like on-time rate. They're really good when it comes to like different service and a number of different things. If you look at like all the metrics for what people are looking for in airline, Delta does really well with it. But then Delta's like, well, our miles are going to be, we don't care. I think that Marriott's done the exact same thing with like, yeah, people, well, it's not the same thing when it comes to like all things people like, but when it comes to what are some really cool properties that people want to stay at, the really cool properties people want to stay at are going to be the Ritz-Carlton, are going to be the St. Regis. There's all these really cool Marriott properties all around the world. And there's so many Marriott properties that they're just like, okay, we understand we got people locked into wanting to be at our property. So now that we have that, we don't really care about the value of our points as much. You still can get yourself okay deals with Marriott. I'm not saying that it's all 100% trash, but I pretty much I don't remember the last time I stayed at a Marriott hotel. Um, yeah, I just kind of because a lot of times if you see a Marriott hotel, Hilton's going to be there, and I just choose Hilton every time over Marriott. High cards are weak for sure. Yes, yeah, I know that. I think even in Luke's last video, he was talking about the uh, the trash of the high personal card and why you should have the Ink Cash. And I agree, Ink Cash is going to be the best way to earn Ultimate Reward points. You can rack up a ton of them. What's this over here? Start. Oh, that's just um, and then but when it comes to the Hyatt card, uh, I don't think that it makes sense for most people to be using it just consistently. I think that the way you can make the Hyatt card make sense is you would have to um, be using it towards getting some level of not even status of a milestone specifically. If you can get yourself higher status than like the higher like global status, it makes sense. But if you use it towards helping yourself getting milestones with the getting me 5 nights with the card, 5 elite nights with the card, getting another elite night from 15,000, not elite night, getting a free night from having the card, getting a free night from spending 15,000, which if you look at something like the Surpass, the 15,000 there is much better. But what you end up getting with Hyatt is that you're going to end up being able to get yourself another free night as you get to 30 elite nights. So you have the ability to get yourself 3 elite nights. I keep on saying elite nights. I apologize. 3 free nights along with elite nights to help you get the free nights. So if you end up earning the 6 elite nights along with having the card, you need 19 nights at a Hyatt hotel to get yourself a free night award certificate. So you can get yourself 3 free night award certificates with Hyatt, and hopefully you can get yourself to the next the next milestone to be able to get yourself a suite upgrade award as well. If you can end up getting something close to like with that from using the card, then I think that that can end up being, in my opinion, worth it. I don't think that it makes sense for everyone to just start using the card, but I think that getting the 3 free nights throughout the year, and I know that some people are like, oh, you only get like I've used them at properties that were like $400 at the time of booking. It just happens to be that me looking to try to use them. I know that like the Grand Hyatt was one that I used it at. I just used it at the Hyatt Regency in Sydney, Australia. I remember people who were there were like, "That's a really nice property." I mean, it was decent. It didn't seem like the most like luxurious property, but a lot of people in Sydney thought it was a really nice one. But yeah, it would have cost $300-ish a night. If you use 3 there, you just save yourself close to $1,000 after tax. So can you get yourself more value from something like the free night award certificate from Hilton? Yes, but I think that if you do the math of how I'm discussing it, it's not going to be on average that much more. The question would be: would you rather one ultra night or three good nights? Some people would want one way, some people would want the other. It really all comes down to what you're looking for. But yeah, I'll agree. I don't think the Hyatt cards are very good. I like it for how it works out well for me. But I do think that how I am, I think I'm a very, I don't think that the way that I play the game is the way that most other people are playing the game. So because of that, I don't think that the card is going to make sense for most people, especially for using on a regular daily basis. Let's see. And with the IHG free night free night with the IHG card, free night is 40K, but you can top off as much points as you like. Unlike Bonvoy, where you only you get capped at 15. Yeah, you're right. That's a nice feature that you can end up getting with that. Yeah, there's definitely a argument for IHG. I've looked into it more and more. Because there's a lot of things that like I'm mainly, I think everyone's got like their different things that they're pretty good at in the points and miles game. I'm good at finding award space. That's something that I like look into a lot. But when it comes to like learning about different programs, learning about all the different ins and outs of them, there's a lot of them out there, and you start to realize why some people might fall in love with some of them. So I've been looking at IHG, and I've been seeing some people talk about them and how they're good and how you can get yourself good value from it. And then I start going, okay, and then I start going, you know what? There's a lot of decent stuff you can get from IHG. It's not gonna knock your socks off, but not every property I stay at knocks my socks off. So if that ends up being the case, then at those ones that aren't going to be doing that, IHG can end up being a fantastic fit for those times. IHG currently running a sale on points. Yep. So what is it? I think it's like 0.55. So pretty much you spend. I don't know exactly what the math is, but yeah, it can make sense. Just check to make sure the properties are. I mean, I think most people here are well versed enough to know this, but obviously make sure the properties you're going to be doing it on makes sense. But IHG is. I mean, I think the last live I did was talking about buying points. IHG, Hilton, these are ones where if you buy points, it can make sense for sure. Let's see. M2K says, I did buy IHG points on sale to stay there. Yeah. Yeah. IHG is one of those properties where for sure it makes a lot of sense. I don't consider using points as free travel, just heavily disc. Yes. I don't know if, did I say free on this? Because I, I myself have been, did if I did say free, I don't know if I said free earlier. I didn't mean to. But I myself have been looking at it and saying like I'm pretty sure even in my videos I've been trying to mainly say like heavily discounted or look at the price point you can get, but I pretty much never say free because I see everyone online saying free and I'm like it's not free. There's a few different things. First of all, you're exchanging what you could cash out for this. So at least give it the cash out rate value. That's usually what I try to do with things. I try to at least give the cash out rate value for it. Um, and on many different things, there's going to be, especially flights, there's going to be taxes and fees. There's a few different people that I see online who are like, the flight was completely free. And they say they had the taxes and fees were, I didn't have to pay. And I'm like, well, how are we able to avoid tax and fees on 5 different airlines? I don't know how the heck these people are able to do this unless they have all of these. And even if you were able to do it from having something like, oh, but my American Express Platinum card, yeah, you have to pay a fee to be able to get that. It's not fee, it's highly discounted, highly reduced. And if you look at least the cash rate, which is what I try to do, that's how I try to evaluate whether or not these things make sense for me. If a property costs 40,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points, I transferred from Chase over to Hyatt. That ends up being a $400 a night hotel stay, which still for me is I find to be pretty darn expensive. Like I mean, I find if you can find anything under $150 to be cheap, because most hotels now are going to be about $150, which means that if you can find something for like 15,000 points, you're probably getting yourself if it ends up being like a $200, $300 property, you get yourself a nice property. But when you look at like, I've had to go to some weddings that have been like in the mid 300s or right around there on price point. I'm like, my goodness, these things end up being, uh, it's on the expensive side, but yeah, I like to look at it that way. Is the cash out of the points is how I try to evaluate it. Would I pay this cash out rate? And then not only would I pay this cash out rate, what is the alternative if I want to do? Because you can say I wouldn't pay this cash rate, but then you go, okay, what's the alternative of economy? So alternative of economy, is it going to be this close to it? Because then if it is, would I pay an additional $200 to $300 to get myself business class? The answer is yes. That's how I can end up doing the math for a lot of things. But yeah, I agree with you. If I hope I didn't, I don't know if I said free earlier. I try to not say free. I try to say either reduced, or I try to say this is the value I may be getting from it. And I also never say like I got I saved myself $700 from this award. No, I didn't say I wasn't going to pay $700. I may have gotten $700 in value, but I didn't. I'm not going to say I saved it if I wasn't going to spend that amount of money. I have a dog and Kimpton and international or intercontinental never charge pet fees. Nice. Yeah, I've heard about that as well. That's great. The 10K Hyatt point bonus for every 10K we spend after you hit Globalist is nice. Yeah, I mean I don't know. I've never gotten to ever 10K. Wait a minute. So is this? Are you talking about the next milestone? Or just the points? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good as well. Yeah. Question. Okay, so we got a question here. Why is everyone in love with Chase in Cash? I have it, but I just don't get it. 5x on off supplies, internet, and phone services can't be that much. Am I missing something? So what it is that you can buy yourself Visa and MasterCard gift cards when they are on sale. So there's going to be different I get a lot of the emails that give me alerts about it from like frequent miler to where when these sales end up happening, you can essentially get yourself a $200 gift card for $200. So if you end up getting let's say the Chase Ink cash card, and you want to get yourself the $200 gift card just from using the Chase Ink cash card. You got yourself 1,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points from doing that versus using that and getting yourself 200 Chase Ultimate Reward points at office supply stores. But what it ends up happening is, or not office supply stores, but at 200 for that $200 gift card. So that $200 gift card you can use towards anything. So what like I would do, for instance, is if I want to buy something on Amazon, instead of me going and buying something on Amazon, and what would I end up getting? Unless I have the Amazon card from either American Express or Chase, I will end up getting myself 2x back on Amazon. So instead of me getting 2x back on Amazon with my Venture X card, I go to Staples, that's right down the street from me. I get myself an Amazon gift card. If I need to buy $500 worth of Amazon stuff, now I just got myself 2,500 Chase Ultimate Reward points. So if you start finding places to where you can use these gift cards, you can end up racking up a ton of Chase Ultimate Reward points. I would say decently quickly, yeah, because you're going to be. It just comes down to where you want to what you can end up purchasing with these gift cards. So some people will start using them for everything. I've ran into some troubles with that to where I try to use it quicker than just using it for everything. I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you wanted to get yourself 5x back on, let's say, dining with or grocery stores with Chase, just go to an office supply store, get yourself the Chase Ink cash card. I mean, I always recommend to buy something with it. If you just buy gift cards straight up, maybe there might end up being an issue with Chase. So I usually buy myself a bottle of water or something, and then I get myself a $200 gift card. I go to the grocery store. I use that gift card at the grocery store. Now I just got myself 1,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points. So like if you think about how people like the rotating categories from the Chase Freedom Flex card and the Chase Freedom card, this is essentially like having an everlasting rotating category that goes up, well, I guess just up to 25,000. But it's throughout the year. You don't have to worry about waiting for that one category. I don't even care about my Chase Ink or my Chase Ink. I don't even care about my Freedom Flex card really, because I just anytime I need the 5x, unless it's like connecting with something with like dining and they can get me even more. But anytime it's giving me the 5x on something, I just go, okay, well, you give me 5x. I can just get essentially whatever you're going to be getting me 5x. I can get that almost anytime I want going to the office supply store. So, and then some people can end up doing more of the shadier things with those gift cards. I don't really want to get into any of that stuff in videos, but there are ways you're aware if somehow you can figure out ways to just grab gift cards that are cash equivalent and then being able to get cash, then you can maybe have yourself a way to get a ton of points. But that ends up being more of like stuff that can get you in trouble, can make you lose money, stuff that I've even gotten myself like in situations with, and I don't really recommend for people to just start doing that. Really start the way you should look at it is if you want to go repair your car, like, okay, so I just went to the dentist. and I had to get some stuff done. Literally yesterday, I was at the dentist and I had some fillings put into my mouth, and they gave me a price. And instead of me, since I don't have any current sign-up bonuses that I'm working on, I had a Visa gift card. I paid part of it with the Visa gift card, and whatever couple of dollars I had, I paid with my credit card. So I was able to get myself 1,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points from using that. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, if you have things that you want to, if you have things you already know you want to purchase, or Amazon and just have an Amazon bank, which is like something I always have, you just put money into, you just can go to the office supply store. But don't get it when there are activation fees. You get there when there's activation fees, it's going to negate all of your gains. What you want to do is you want to get it when there is no activation fees. So then you can end up getting yourself essentially $1,000 in gift cards for $1,000 of your spend, and then you can use that towards anything. But you got yourself guaranteed, like you've locked in the 5x is what people like. So, yep. Keita says 5x exactly. These are gift cards, grocery stores, things that don't code. Yeah, exactly. Just trying to find yourself something that doesn't code. I mean, there's not a lot of things you get yourself 5x back with Chase. So if you want to get yourself 5x back with Chase, that's how you can get yourself for $25,000 throughout the year. Okay, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Transferred 30,000 points to Virgin Atlantic and got 2 round trips, Atlanta to Toronto with Delta. Let's go. I love hearing that. I love hearing more about, thank you, Filmo, earlier as well. Anytime people are talking about actually doing the travel is what I really, really like to see and hear people doing, because there's a lot of people who are just earning the points. And listen, the earning points part is fun. I'm not going to say it's not fun, but the redeeming is the real challenge of the game. I was earning points and doing a lot of stuff that people who are like that they talk about either in the videos or people just guess they're getting into the game. I was doing that before I even I was just like, wait, just I can sign up for a card and get this and use shopping portals, and I was doing that long before I was even into the whole travel game. And then I started going, oh, okay, there's a travel game. Now I need to study this. Now this is going to be the part that's going to be the more challenging. But to hear that you got you got 2 round trips from Atlanta to Toronto with Delta for 30,000 using the transfer bonus. I'm assuming the transfer bonus as well. I guess you didn't say that in there. Awesome. Please, people, keep on redeeming those points. Have awesome trips. That's exactly what I want to see. That's so cool. Would you recommend staying at Hyatt if I don't have any status or lowest status with them? Yes, for sure. Because you can still get yourself really good value for the reason why so many people talk about Hyatt. In fact, most people who you might see if you're watching anyone else, John, on YouTube who are talking about staying at Hyatt, I don't know any of the other creators that I can think of, maybe Sebi or something like that, who has Globalist outside of myself. So Luke doesn't have it. I don't think like Anthony Venture or some of these other people, they have status with other programs, but they all, and like Spencer, I know he's also someone who's really into Hyatts, and I would guess he doesn't have Hyatt Globalist, but he still likes Hyatt because there's still a lot of value when it comes to redeeming the points with the program. And Hyatt's properties themselves are good, especially if you stay even at like the mid-level ones. I don't think that the top Hyatt property is as good as something like, I guess it could be on level, but usually if you look at like some of the top Hyatts versus like the top Waldorfs or the Ritz-Carltons, those end up being, I think, a little bit better as properties. But as a whole, I would say that 100% stay at Hyatt properties, even if you don't have, for sure. 99% of people don't have Globalists. So yes. Let's see. I was able to snag a SLH property in Venice for April 15th in Venice. Again, yeah, in Venice for 40,000 points per night. I'm assuming the cost per night, it was $1,000. Wow, yeah, nice. That's awesome. So you got yourself a Category 8 property in Venice. So the 15th. So I don't think you're going to be getting any elite nights for that. I don't know if that matters to you. If it doesn't, not a big deal. Hopefully you still get yourself the free breakfast, because I know that like the stuff is going to stop with the SLH properties. I have one booked. Lucky for me, was it the 9th through like the 4th or something like that? I forget exactly what the dates are. Maybe like 9th through like the 13th. So I'm like right before the cutoff date, which is I'm thankful for. But that's awesome. Yeah, SLH. It's sad to see they weren't all great value for their points, but there were some good properties there. So I am sad to see that the SLH properties are leaving Hyatt. But it looks like the deals with Hilton aren't going to be horrible. I mean, some of them are going to be definitely on the higher price point, but they're still going to be staying within Hilton's like standard room, like award chart of, I think max is 150 points you can pay with Hilton. So. But great. Hopefully that's a good one. I'm going to be at the Plaza Manfredi right before the thing ends. So we're both going to be at 40K SLH properties in the next month. So that's pretty awesome. Staying for 2 nights. Let's go. Cool. 80,000 points. It's worth it. Hopefully it ends up being a fantastic trip. I've never been to Venice. We have Globalists. Any tips to retain it for next year? Tips to retain Globalists for next year. So the challenge that always ends up being with Globalists is that there's not as easy of workarounds. The easiest workaround that you could maybe end up doing would be to find some decently cheaper properties. If you have Globalists right now and you happen to be going to Vegas, the Rio now is going to end up being like a cheaper property. You can't do like mobile booking, like to to check yourself in from. You have to physically go to Vegas to do it, but you get what is it called? You get the resort fees waived, and then you get um, you get free breakfast, and you also get like the same type of like status that you would end up getting for staying at Hyatt properties. That would end up being cheap. That's probably gonna end up being like because I've never really went into it on the channel, but there was a lot of different hacks you could have done with MGM before. I don't know if you already did those things previous. Oh, I think you right over here did MGM trick. Yeah. So I think you did say, yeah, did the fast track last year and did the MGM trick. Yeah. So it's going to be similar. Just look at with Rio. It's not as great as it was before with MGM because there were some ways to like I think like I don't go over. I know some people go over everything they do in their videos and then the stuff can end up like vanishing. There's a lot of things that I can take advantage of, and I'm thankful to be able to get them. And the people who taught me about them, I want to keep their secrets. And you can't blast everything on the internet because then all the stuff can end up going away. But yes, that one trick, something similar to like that. But now looking at it like with Rio, it's not the same because you have to physically be there. But yeah, hopefully you can do something to be able to get it. The guys at the Credit Card BS podcast both have globals. Yes, they do. I know that. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about them. My apologies. They have a really good podcast. Yeah, I watched their stuff. They everyone in this game is different. Like the cool thing about them is that they really talk about trying to maximize, trying to do the best things. I don't 100% agree with all the stuff, but I guess that they wouldn't 100% agree with everything I say too. So not as big of a deal there because they're all about just high price point. But then some things end up being okay. Well, if the price point wasn't that high, would you still want to stay there? And I think that Anthony Venture kind of asked them that same thing, and then they kind of it took them back a little bit to rethink about like, well, if the price point, because for me, there's properties like I was thinking about this, not it's kind of a similar thing. And this is not me knocking them at all. I do like their podcast. Was like when I booked the Park Hyatt in Tokyo, I booked it when Japan was still shut down to tourists. So that's how I booked my first class. When I booked my first class, there was so much availability to book first class. I could have booked it for there was just days upon days because you couldn't get in. But I was like, okay, I'm going to book it far in advance. And my guess is that Japan's going to be open by this time because everyone else don't open up. So I went to Japan in 2023, but I booked it in, what was it, like mid 2024? Sorry, mid 2022. So doing that, I was able to get availability. And then when I booked the Park Hyatt Tokyo, the cost to stay there was somewhere near about, I would say, I think it was near like $500-ish, but it was 30,000 points and a free night award certificate. So if you look at the cent per point value when I booked it, it wasn't the greatest. But then after they opened up, the price jumped up to being near like $1,000. But all I knew to myself was, I want to stay at this property, and I'm not going to spend $600 or whatever, let's say $500 to stay at this property. I'm not spending that for the one night there or that, but then there's also the free night award. I didn't want to do that, but because I knew I want to stay at it, the price point didn't matter to me as much. It just more, or the cents per point. It was just more of one thing that I really wanted to do. But yes, they both have globalists. They have some really good stuff. If you guys want to study the game and try to do it at like a really high level of cents per point redemptions, I would definitely recommend checking out their podcast. They tend to do it it's on the weekends usually they release it. But good stuff by them. Yeah. Let's see. Did you fast track last year? And did the MGM? Oh, sorry, I'm repeating this thing. Let's see. Kick saying, what do you feel about booking an economy international flight with Virgin with points, but then go into the Delta app and upgrade your seat to a Comfort Plus or first class, smart or not? So, both of those, I'm assuming you're talking about you're booking Delta with Virgin Atlantic, and then you are trying to upgrade. It's going to be business class, not they technically don't have the first class international. It all depends on what the price point is. I don't know what the price point is and what you would value going up from first class. So booking international on Virgin I don't know what it is through Delta. That's something I would have to. I've seen what Virgin is just booking international economy, and it's super cheap. What is it, like? Is like 15,000 points plus? I think it's like near $100 ish in taxes and fees. Um, it ends up being a good deal, and it's pretty much available whenever the heck you want. I might be off on a little bit of the price point, but it's somewhere near, because I know that um, Flying Blue has economy for 20,000 points, and I'm almost positive that Virgin has it for cheaper. If you add in a 30% transfer bonus, it's just stupid. They do have higher taxes and fees, but I guess the question will end up coming down to, I get from the beginning, how much is the upgrade? If the upgrade is $500, what do you value each hour in the sky? How far are you flying? Because some people will do, I know people who've done upgrades for, like, someone I knew was flying home from the Philippines, did upgrades in business class for him, his wife, and his two kids. And he spent, like, I think it was like 2 G's on each person to upgrade to business class. So, yeah, I mean, I would imagine the Comfort Plus is probably gonna be more reasonable, maybe just like a couple $100 price point. But I'm not going to say it's not smart. I just want to know what the price point end up being. If you see the price point ends up making sense, I would say go for it. But if you see the price point ends up being, 1,500 bucks, no, you don't want to have to do something like that. Evaluate how much you're willing to pay each hour in the sky. That's kind of like a big thing I've been hearing some people say. Even when it comes to, like, how many points you want to pay per hour. I know that some my buddy, when he was asking about my ANA first class flight, and then he was like, "How much is it to fly?" And I was like, "It's $24,000." And he says, "You're getting $1,000 an hour in the sky worth of value." I go, "I never thought about it that way." He goes, "That's stupid." I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of dumb. It's kind of crazy to think about it that way." So, but yeah, it's if you can think about it that way, like, if all of a sudden it ends up being $50, it ends up being $500, you're in the sky for 10 hours, and then you go, okay, it's going to cost me $50 an hour in the sky. That could be a mathematical equation you can do to determine whether or not it makes sense. All right, the Rio might be a good, might have remote check-in. Rio does not have remote check-in. It does not. You do have to go there. The Thompson and Dream hotels have 2x. This is correct. So they have 2x. What is that? Till the end of May. I forget exactly what the date is, but you could be able to get yourself some good elite nights there. Yeah, it's harder to do some of the different tricks to get yourself higher status with height. I mean, the one thing about it is the main trick, if you really want to get it, would end up having to be the fast track. Find yourself one of those corporate fast tracks, one of those type of things. Although I guess if you already did I don't know if you did the built one, if that you said you did last year, because I know that you can only do the fast tracks, like, I think it's like every couple of years, if I remember correctly. So you may not be eligible to be able to do it again. But the trick is the fast track, because a lot of people, there's certain, like, I don't care if people are globalists. If you're a globalist, it doesn't hurt me. But there's some globalists out there who are all butthurt that there's other globalists being like, oh, well, how are all these people becoming globalists? They're doing these tricks with with MGM. They're doing these tricks with the fast track, and a lot of them, they don't really think as much about they think a lot more about the fast track, because they know that the fast track is a way that a lot of people could be able to do it. Because the fast track, in theory, is getting you kind of near the level of what you would be staying to reach globals anyways, but you just don't have to do it the entire year's time. So it's just like, okay, people can do 20 nights in 90 days, but it's really difficult to do 60 nights. A lot of people spend 60 nights at a hotel throughout the year. So yeah. So yeah, the Rio is more expensive compared to MGM, but I know what you mean. That's why I was vague. We talked briefly at the creator meetup. We talked briefly at the. Wait a minute. I'm trying to think of. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I know. Took me a second. I'm trying to look at your photo. Yeah, I followed your tip and did the Park Hyatt Tokyo and applied a suite upgrade for 2 nights. And got the suite, 25K a night. Beautiful. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, actually, I do. So I think, yeah, I know who you are. Took me a second. My apologies. I sometimes see people on here and, okay, what are your thoughts? Chase Travel Portal. I don't use it. I think that it can work for some people. I think that if we're talking about, I do find it interesting that some people like to use the Chase Travel Portal, but then have issues with booking through the Chase Travel Portal. This ends up being kind of a uh, a a weird thing to me. That hey, why are you okay with like? Well, I don't want to book through the travel portal, but I get to redeem it for 1.5 cents. I don't use it. I can see where people could use it and get value with it. I think that it depends on what you're trying to do. The reality, like for me, it usually if it ends up being that that's how much I'm going to be able to get from it, I will just pay cash. The price point would have to be so because like think about it. If you were to look at something that cost $1,500 and you're like, well, I get to spend 100,000 points for this flight. Do you want to spend 100,000 points on a flight for $1,500? That's probably not going to be anything nice. If you have to, then you have to. But it's not something that it's not something that I like to use. I don't really. The reality is if people who really want to use Chase Travel Portal and you could probably just get cashback set up and do better with it that way. Because the thing about well, depending on where you end up using it at, the portal is that you have to also factor in the like the earning of points that you may end up getting from something like the hotels, which you won't be getting through the travel portal. So if you just use a cashback setup and you end up getting something like 5x as compared to getting the portal, unless you're using the ink trick that we were talking about earlier in this video, chances are you're going to be equaling out to a very similar thing, but you have it being cash where you can use it towards anything if you wanted to travel or if you don't want to travel. So that's kind of one of the big reasons why I'm not really into. We got Dugrass in the house. Dodging tornado. Jesus, Dugrass. Oh goodness, please be safe. I just asked you not too long ago. Hey, I'm thinking about going to Iowa. Just trying to see different states. Now you got me scared. I don't know anything about tornadoes, Dugrass. I didn't know anything about earthquakes when I moved out here to LA. And when I felt the first one, I almost soiled myself. I've gotten used to it now. They're scary, but I can only imagine if I saw a tornado. I mean, I've only seen the Twister movie, which I imagine probably doesn't hold up in 2024. But I remember seeing that as a kid and being scared of. Well, forget that. I don't want to go. Well, there's these dang tornadoes. But please be safe, Dugrass. Hopefully, we still get some Dugrass reports tomorrow morning. Let's see. Yikes. Oh, yeah. Everyone wish Dugrass safety, please. He has really good content. Really, really good content. I got Explorer, Fast Track through work. Yeah. That's really going to be the best trick for getting. If you want to know the best trick for getting Globalist, it's going to be the Fast Track. The 20 nights Fast Track. Sorry, my legs are like sticking to the chair. 20 nights Fast Track is going to be the best way to go about it. So we're all home and have a basement if needed. Great, it's good to hear. Yes. Rio offered me some free nights, and I was wondering if I booked through the Hyatt website to get elite nights, or could I book through Rio and input my Hyatt membership. If you I don't know how Rio's so new with this that I'm curious how it works. I know that with MGM, you're able to do it right through MGM's website. And then as you got there, you just linked your Hyatt account and you could do it that way. I don't know how, I'm assuming it's probably the same. If Rio offers you free nights, those aren't going to calculate as elite nights unless, here's a little trick, unless you have some paid bookings on top of it. So you have to connect it all into one type of itinerary. So say, for instance, you have one free night that you got some type of comp night, but then you also have 2 paid nights, then it should count as 3 nights. So that could be a little trick you could do. But that's a good question. I'm assuming you can still book because you could do it with MGM, but I don't know. I can't confirm 100%. Because it's so new. It's literally been available for not even 2 months yet, and I have been looking into it and reading about it. But it's a good question. I would say check it out and give us a data point. My feeling, I have a feeling that I have a higher percentage. If I was to guess, I would give it a 75% chance that it's yes, but I could be wrong. So I don't want to put you in that position. Let's see. You have to book through Hyatt if you go through Rio. You have to pay. Oh yes, you have to pay the resort fees. Yes. So yeah, that is true. Because that was the thing about when you did book through MGM is you didn't have to pay the resort fees. You had it. So the difference. Yes. I see. I see. Because the difference with MGM is that you had MGM Gold, and that was how you were able to remove the resort fees with MGM because it was through MGM's website. That was where you got the resort fees waived. Whereas with getting the resort fees waived through Hyatt, you're going to be getting them waived from booking through the World of Hyatt program from being a globalist. I didn't think of it fully through until I just had to say it out loud like that. You were right. You were right. You will not be able to. You could book it through uh, Rio, but you end up paying what $50. You end up paying additional $30 each day for staying there, which is not going to typically make sense mathematically. Most disappointing destination you traveled based on what you expected were going into the trip and what it turned out to be, not based on hotels, but actual destination. Um, I got to tell you, I haven't had really a bad trip. Well, that's a lie. So I went to New Orleans, which is funny because we're all going to be, hopefully, a lot of people are going to be trying to meet up for that for the creator meetup hosted by Chad Money Minutes this year. Um, that was fun, but I was with a lady friend of mine, and we were just button heads. So that it almost made me not even want to go back to New Orleans. And it wasn't had nothing to do with New Orleans. Although I did get pickpocketed, so that happened. So that was a pain in the butt. So on top of us arguing on Bourbon Street in front of everybody, which is not something I ever want to do. I'm not someone who is like that, but it was Mardi Gras, and you had enough. I had enough to drink, and and if I get poked enough, eventually, so that was, I say, a disappointment. New Orleans. So hopefully, if I go to this year's creative meetup, that can end up being uh, you know, get to do that again and have more fun this time in New Orleans. But that's not to knock New Orleans. If I think about all the places that I've went to, I haven't had a bad experience at like the place itself hasn't been bad. I've had good times at most places that I've like every place I visited. I will say that the Korean food in Korea is other than I did go to one Korean barbecue place when in Korea, but the regular Korean food in Korea, I was not feeling that. I was everything that whatever it looked like didn't taste like what I thought it was going to taste like, and maybe it just threw off my brain a little bit. But yeah, I would say that I was disappointed in. I did have a Korean barbecue this one night when I went out with these people I met in this tour that I did, and that when we went out and got Korean barbecue, that was good, and it wasn't expensive. It was so I liked that. I also liked the soju, which I did not realize how strong soju was. So anyone who ever drinks soju, please be careful with that stuff because this guy who I met out there was just uh, he was sad when he was drinking soju. He had to have been 40 pounds lighter than me drinking soju, and I'm drinking with him, and I'm just following him, and just and he was sad about something with his girlfriend. And next thing I know, I stood up and I was like, "This soju stuff is wild. I did not realize how strong this stuff was." And he was kind of just chuckling. That was a wild night. But but yeah, I'll say that Korea, I got to go back and try the food. I got massive portions of food, but wow, it did not taste like what I'm familiar with American Korean food. So um, yeah, everyone's wishing Dugras to be safe. Um, let's see. Yeah, I just did the run while doing the status merry-go-round run. I'll make a dedicated post on my Instagram about the resort fee waived, breakfast credit with the new hotel promo, and the journey days. Yes, yep, yeah. So yeah, you're gonna get yeah. So all that you said is going to be free breakfast. The breakfast there can end up costing like $40, so that can end up being, um, it's like you essentially can get breakfast that's going to cost the same amount as the night stays. If you can value it that, then it just comes down to it's not a bad stay. It just really comes down to do you want to stay at the property? Do you already happen to live in Vegas? That's more of the challenging part for I think a lot of people for that. But yeah, I'll check out the Instagram post as well. Let's see. QC Man says, laugh a lot. I can't see you and Stan, the credit fraud, getting into me and Stan, the credit fraud. I always say that's my girlfriend, huh? Not, well, she was my girlfriend, so I did. I think that should be good. No, yeah, no. Stan's so much fun. Stan was awesome in Vegas. Stan was like he was, and I've been to Vegas a few times. But Stan had everything just like he had us going everywhere. We were playing games, getting good at craps. No, Stan's the man. Yeah, I love the way he runs his channel. I love the way that um, he goes about like just the way he does his videos. I wish I could do it closer to how he does a lot of the things, but everyone we all have our own styles. But yeah, no, yeah, I don't see myself getting into any any troubles with any of the creators. I'm a pretty laid back, happy go. You know, I try to avoid these type of things. The reality is let's just I'm keeping it as PG as I can on YouTube, but I went during Mardi Gras, and if you go to New Orleans during Mardi Gras with a woman, there may be she might not feel as comfortable to where I don't know if this is what it was. I don't know what was going on to where your eyes might be wandering. I'm not sure if this is what initiated it or what was going on, but in my feeling, that may have been kind of what caused it. The levels of insecurity of there's a lot of people doing a lot of crazy things. I wasn't going crazy looking at all this stuff, but stuff was going on. You're there, and we were just. I was being pretty chill. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but I'm giving too much data about myself. Sorry about that. Uh, I try to be talk more. I try not to talk about me. I try to talk more about the points and miles. Me. We're talking about JP knowledge, not the real life guy who had his issue in New Orleans. But no, I didn't think you were. No, I know you were. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, but yeah, no, New Orleans should be fun. I am looking forward to going back there, and I enjoyed like there was a cool boat cruise that I did when I was out there. Um, I stayed at the Eliza Jane, good value from that hotel. Food was good. Um, yeah, New Orleans had some catfish my first night. Um, it's a cool place. I did feel bad about like there's a number of areas that you go through and it's still well, I've been going on for a long time. I gotta end this soon. Um, there's a number of places that you go through and you still see the like the all the different I guess devastation from the hurricanes that were there from a while. Like I don't what is it? It's like been 20 years since it happened. So it's pretty crazy to think about that. There's still parts that are still trying to rebuild since then. So that's sad to see that we kind of I saw when going on like the different boat cruises. But yeah, New Orleans is going to be it's a fun place, and I think I'm going to get some. I mainly think of New Orleans as being a fun place. A lot of the times when I think back to different things, I try to think of the positive things. So, and me and that person are now on good terms, and there's no issues. It was just the question was asked of which place was I had that's the only place I can really think of where I was like legitimately angry. I haven't been, but then I also lost my wallet. This is just it was just adding up, you know. But anyways, you guys, that's going to be this Friday's video. Hopefully, we got some good information. Hopefully, people enjoyed it. I went on a lot longer than I thought I would. I do need to go. I do actually have some stuff I need to do. So I will be taking care of the stuff I need to do tonight. But I appreciate everyone who came out. Thank you all so much. For all my members who are in here, I did see a few of them in there. Thank you all who are members of my channel. You really do help me out a lot. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat earlier, also from Keith S. That means so much to me. It really does. I really appreciate you doing that. But I thank everyone here for being here with me tonight. And you all have a great rest of your night. And Dugras, please be safe. And hopefully you still have a show tomorrow. I'll try to catch part of it. All right, everyone. Take care.